that time of week, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the fourth dimension in entertainment. This is the Four-Dimensional Podcast 4D, the dearly debated deep dives, and this is your crew. In seat number 1, we have Nathanael Levinson. He dishonored his mother. He dishonored his father. In seat number 2, Sean U. Maxwell. And now we have the powerful, the pleasureful, the indestructible Greg Krenz with a new haircut. Sorry we're a little late. Technical difficulties, but
Did you say pleasureful?
Is it?
It's pleasurable.
I could have said either.
No,
is that a quote from Mulan or something?
Yeah. When
serious?
Mushu introduces himself.
Huh?
Did you not watch the movie?
I did. I watched both of them. They all
It's
blur
true.
together.
The second one just kind of washes out the first one. The powerful, the pleasurable, the indestructible Mushu.
Okay. The second one does wash out the first one.
Those were all
unfortunately
like plays on the movie. Did you not get any
No,
of that?
I got the one
like
where
how
I
he-
dishonored my parents.
No, I dishonored my family. I dishonored my cow. You're the bad guy, and then Greg, the person who couldn't get the stream going.
Yeah, he's the pleasure.
He's the powerful.
pleasurable.
Not powerful enough to get the stream
Technical
working.
difficulties are not my fault.
Whose fault are they? Did I buy the equipment? I'm sorry. Did you make me up? Did you walk in here? Did you rub my lamp? Did you wake me up? And now you're walking down on me. Sorry, wrong movie.
Certainly not my fault.
Just saying, we're over here,
We're the talent.
way far away from the technology.
I say this every week, but we're the talent. Okay, I
Be
show
more
up
creative
and
with how you
I
get the
show
stream
up,
going.
and this
Greg.
better be ready.
Well, we definitely have a show
I'm not
for
coming
you.
out of my trailer until Greg gets it together.
Guys, this is our last Disney
We
one.
did it.
Yes,
We did it. We
I
watched
finally
22 Disney movies.
I finally get to cancel my Disney Plus subscription. I could save $8 a month
last time.
It's sad because we don't get to watch the good animated movies, but it's great because we don't get to watch the bad not animated movies.
I was thinking, watching this one specifically, I was like, I'm glad it's the last one because, like, I don't know if I have another one of these in me.
Yeah,
I honestly thought I was
don't.
like, I don't. I think the podcast might have been in trouble if Greg needed to watch another terrible movie.
Well,
The morale was just.
You think I'm
slowly.
done making you watch terrible movies, Greg? You think that's how this works?
I desperately
I
hope.
have the blood contract. You're not. You don't get out of this. That's not how this works.
Yeah, you did sign a contract before this all started.
Yeah.
We all did.
All right, Nathaniel, bring the people up to speed. What are we doing today?
We finished off our series of watching the good animated versions and the trash remakes of the Disney repertoire. Now there are a couple of new ones coming out, which
what are we
may.
doing today? Though?
Oh,
like, what's today?
I'm getting
It's
there.
a preamble.
Okay.
Let him go.
Jeez, I'm
Yeah,
getting
come
there.
on, man.
What's
But this is the end of season 1 of our first arc.
Mm-hmm.
And we finished up with one of the best and one of the worst.
Yeah, appropriate.
And we're talking about Mulan. Mulan, yes, Mulan.
Spoiler alert. One of the worst. Spoiler alert. One of the worst.
Speaking
Without permission.
Is that for the movie?
Yeah. Oh my God!
I'm kidding.
This
I'm
man.
kidding.
All right.
Kidding.
We're legitimately just gonna replace you with Jay.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys haven't done it already, honestly. I don't know how I'm still here. How do I still have a job? It's because of my relationship with Tomas. I mean,
He didn't say what kind of.
we'll cut it out.
Say that one more time.
Why are there people cheering for that?
Freudian slip.
They were so
Freudian
happy.
slip.
Just the and then what? And
We'll edit that in post.
Oh my! But this is going. Okay, this is maybe the quickest we've gone off the rails.
Okay, all right. Get the people back on track. Move
All
on.
right. I'll do a brief rundown because you really just need to go watch it. So, original Mulan. We open with the Huns invading the Great Wall, and it's really good, like establishing of your villain. Oh man, the leitmotif for the Huns. So, if you guys don't know, a leitmotif is where a character or like a setting will have its own theme. So this is in the Lord of the Rings. It's in Star Wars. It's like, Darth Vader gets the Imperial March. In the Lord of the Rings, you have the music of the Shire,
Yeah.
right? It's called the leitmotif. Leit. So Mulan has a couple of those, and one of those is for the Han army, and one of those is for the Chinese army. And the Han army one is that horn that you're like, oh, someone's about to die. That's dun 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 dun. So good. So the Huns are invading China, and the guardsman lights the fire, and the fires light up across the wall. And he says, "Now all of China knows you're here." And then Shan Yu just grabs the Chinese flag off of the wall, burns it in the fire, and says, "Perfect." What a great intro to a villain. Like, what a good opening to a movie. So, cut to, we meet Mulan. And Mulan is doing her chores, which is feeding the chickens. And right away, they establish that she's a clever character who works smarter, not harder. So she gets their dopey little dog who it doesn't look like a dog. It looks like Stitch.
His name's Little Brother, right?
Little Brother.
It's Little Brother.
He looks like Stitch.
Am I
funny
crazy? Because the animation in this movie is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And
then
the
Little
dog
Brother's
randomly
weird,
looks like he looks like a clay animation.
It looks
like,
really weird.
Like
It's
Wallace and Gromit.
It's very out of place. And maybe there's a breed of Chinese dog that I'm unfamiliar with that looks like that.
No dog looks like
That's
that.
what I'm saying. I don't know.
It looked more like a Pokemon.
It looks like Stitch. Right? It looks like an alien creature. But anyways, so she like ties a stick to him with a carrot or a bone in this case for him to chase, and then ties the feed to him so he runs around and scatters the feed everywhere. And then it gets to her dad's praying, and then the dog runs through, and all the chickens come in. "Please help Mulan." And the chickens come in. "Please," and I'm like, I resonate so hard with that guy. He's just praying like, "Please."
All right, quick
point of the story
synopsis,
is
not all the details. We're going to be here for an hour and a half.
I really want to just talk to you every
I
point
know
of
you
the
love
movie.
this
The point of the movie is
movie.
Mulan is going to the matchmaker, right? And they sing this whole song about how the son's job is to go off to war, and the women's job is to get married and bear children. Right? So she goes to the matchmaker, and things go horribly, horribly wrong. And the matchmaker's like, "You'll never bring your family honor," and she's all sad. And then the messenger comes in that the army is recruiting men. So like every family has to send one able-bodied man to reinforce the Chinese army. And so he goes, the dad, Fa Zhu, goes, but he's injured. He's injured from his previous, he's like a war hero, he's a war veteran, but he has a chronic injury that basically like a bad leg. And so he's getting ready to go, and Mulan is just like devastated and decides in the middle of the night, "I'm going to steal my dad's armor and his sword, cut my hair short, and go in his place." And they're like, "We can't chase her because if they find out that she's a woman, they'll kill her." Mm-hmm. So she joins the army. Hijinks ensue as they're doing this training because, she's just a peasant farmer girl. She has no idea what this army stuff is about, and she's really bad at it. But it turns out all the other recruits are too. And just as they're about to kick her out, she decides to give this test of strength and courage one more try and succeeds. And that's kind of the turning point for their whole troop. They kind of cohere much better. And then the guardian deity Mushu, who's this little dragon, they try to send the great stone dragon. Shenanigans ensued, and so Mushu ends up going instead.
Eddie Murphy,
brilliant. And so he's like, "Okay, if I make Mulan a war hero, then they'll give me my spot back because your guidance has far dang to disaster." Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay, we can't get to the details. This is a synopsis.
I want to.
Okay, synopsis I'm going to finish it if you don't.
No, you're not allowed to talk. Synopsis is they end up. So
we're getting close.
Mushu ends up faking a message from the general to bring him to the war, and at this time, you know that the army moved to this place called the Tunshao Pass to try to bottleneck the Han army and keep them away from the Imperial City. The Huns also know the Imperial army there and like, yeah, let's go fight them. So they go and they fight them, and as the reinforcements get to the Tunshao Pass, they find out that the entire Imperial army has been completely wiped out, completely decimated. And so they're going through the Tunshao Pass to the Imperial City, and they get attacked by the Huns, and there's like, hundreds of thousands of Huns. And so Mulan uses a rocket to cause an avalanche, which wipes out all the Huns, but during the fight, she gets injured by Shan Yu, and so after the fight, they find out she's injured, and then when the doctor comes up, he's like, "Oh, by the way, she's got boobs," and they're like, "What?" And so they exile her from the army because it's supposed to be the penalty's supposed to be death, but because she saved what's the general?
General.
Don't.
What's his name?
What's his name? Hot guy. What's his name?
Yeah, he takes his shirt off.
Chat,
and she's
help.
like,
What's hot?
"Ooh."
I'll get your arrow,
okay,
pretty
chat,
boy.
hold on.
And I'll do it with my shirt on.
All right, chat, help us out. We need
What?
the name of the main,
The love interest.
the war general's
The-
son.
yeah,
the new general.
Oh my gosh,
So-
why am I totally blanking on his
All right,
name?
anyways, continue.
Anyways, the point is, she
Shang?
saved his. Yeah, Shang. She saved Shang.
Thanks,
and so
chat.
Shang. And so Shang says, "Life for life. I'm not going to kill you,
Thanks,
but
Kristen.
you're gone." So they go back to the Imperial City, and they're having this big party. But Mulan, who's still in the Tung Shao Pass, sees that Shan Yu is still alive, as are his main crew, 4 or 5 of his men. They get to the Imperial City and kidnap the Emperor. And so Mulan, Shang, and her 3 boys from the camp, Po, Lao, and... No, Chenpo, Lao, Yao. Chenpo, Lao, Yao,
It doesn't
and
matter.
the
It's the
skinny
three
guy.
guys.
Yes, it does matter. Names are important.
Well, but
Go
we're
ahead, chat.
going to
Hit
get
us
to
with the
all
names.
of this. This is just
Okay, so they end up, they climb in there, they get into a fight with, so the Shan Yu is trying to get the Emperor to bow to him, and the Emperor's like, nope. It says a fantastic line, which I'm going to skip over for the synopsis.
There we go.
And so then Shang and Mulan bust in, are fighting him, and they rescue the Emperor, but Mulan and Shang get stuck up with Shan Yu, and Shan Yu's about to kill Shang, and because he's like, you took away my victory, you ruined everything. And then Mulan's like, nah, it was me. And Shan Yu's like, oh, okay, I'll kill you instead. And so Shan Yu chases him through the hall, and then they end up blasting him with a firework into the rest of the fireworks. And so Shan Yu blows up. Mulan saves China. The Emperor honors her, and so everyone bows down to her. And she goes home, and she's like, hey, Dad, here's the sword of Shan Yu and the crest of the Emperor because I saved China. And the dad's just like, yeah, I don't need this, and hugs her and is like, I'm glad you're alive. It's a great moment. And then Shang shows up, and they probably get married and have babies. There is a Mulan too, so I assume that's what happens in that one.
I bet there is.
Beautiful.
Have you ever seen that one? You loved Mulan. Have you ever seen Mulan too?
Why would I? They didn't even get Eddie Murphy back if I'm going to bother.
So I actually, I was a part of the Disney Movie Club briefly. I was scammed into doing this. So mainly because a friend.
I have no idea what you're referring to.
Okay, there's something called the Disney Movie Club.
I don't believe you.
And basically, you just pay a lot of money to get DVDs of movies. This is back when DVDs were a thing. It was terrible.
This is the first time this has come up.
This doesn't sound like a real thing.
No,
This
this
all
is
sounds made
No,
up.
this is fabricated.
This is-
You and your
When
friend made a
VHS,
club up.
Blu-ray, digital.
You and your friend
DVDs
made a
don't
club up.
exist.
okay. No, okay. This is the real thing. I'm saying this because
You
it was
weren't being
it was
He's
scammy.
gaslighting us.
It was scammy because they would enter
Look into
things.
the light, Greg.
They would enter things into your shopping cart, and if you didn't take them out, it would automatically order as your movie of the month. And I got ordered Mulan 2, and I
Electric
never watched
Boogaloo.
that
No.
thing. It's just sitting in my movie collection as a Blu-ray DVD, and I've never even had a desire to watch it, and yet I've just
I
had
don't know
it.
why you would.
It's-
Mulan
yeah.
1 is a perfect movie. It
You don't
ends
want to taint
perfectly.
it. Yeah, you don't
There's
want to
no
taint
reason
it.
to
There's no
ever
reason to
try to
taint
go
that.
back to that trough.
There's no reason to taint it unless we're watching
I
the
will
live
say,
action right after, and then we're good.
at least when Disney was doing the ridiculous sequels that didn't need to happen, they were straight to DVD. They didn't try to sell us this schlock in theaters. They were like, yeah, this is garbage, and we know it's garbage, but little kids will enjoy it. So, you know,
Yes.
you spend $10 on it. Parents can spend $10 on it and get Cinderella 2 and Cinderella 3, Happily Never After, or whatever the hell it is, right? Lion King 2, actually not bad, I will say.
Chat says Mulan 2 is terrible. Don't watch it. Thank you, Kristen.
Don't
Yeah,
plan on
I don't. Kristen, can you, in 2 sentences, tell us what the plot of Mulan 2 is? Like, is it so the Huns invade? Do the Mongols
the
invade?
daughter's probably another warrior.
I mean, I would say that I would assume she gets back into the army somehow, which is just
She joins the Navy this time.
just sounds
And then
dumb.
the Mulan 3, she joins the Air Force.
The Navy, Navy SEALs.
So,
Through SEAL training.
so Liam, I know that
Yeah,
you.
so let's start with Liam.
So Liam, you watched
it
both
today,
of these
so it's
today.
fresh in your
Yeah, I do
mind.
this thing where I have 2 weeks to watch 2 movies and
And
I
then he
watch them back
procrastinates.
to back on the day of the podcast. So that's what I did today.
This guy.
During work. Hopefully my boss isn't watching this because I did it in the office
Wow,
in a
great.
private room.
I'm not gonna lie, I watched live action
Dedication.
Mulan this morning while I was in my office.
Here's what
as
I
well.
did in my office. Went to a private room, watched them. Okay, that's dedication for you guys. Just wanted
Dedication
to-
of
I don't know
waiting
if
to the
that's-
last possible
just
second.
wanted-
Do we?
I'm
do we
answering
applause
emails.
that?
I'm answering
Do we-
emails while watching Mulan. Anyway, just wanted to give
very
myself
proud
a
of you.
pat on the back. But
Just go ahead and give it. And I'll just leave this on here for you.
yeah, leave it on with it. It should always be on when I'm talking, to be honest
All
with
right.
you.
What did
But,
you have to say?
Okay, turn it off.
Do we have booze that you play? No, not that one.
All right, Liam, tell us what you thought.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it. This is like the pocket of Disney that's my favorite. It's like it's not song driven, but like I love the songs of Disney movies. I really do. And this movie got 3 bangers.
Yeah.
Got 3 absolute bangers.
Absolute bangers.
And for me, my little pea brain, that's enough.
Yeah.
But on top of that, the plot is really beautiful. I'm a sucker for, morals about family and loyalty, and that's a lot of it. I also think in juxtaposition to like a lot of the live action, including this one, it's like it paints a picture of a really strong, independent woman without feeling like it's being shoved down your face. Like it's very apparent. Like they wrote a really good character, and she's a strong, independent woman. And I also appreciated like the dichotomy of like the man relationship driven by the song. What's the name of the song?
Make a man out of you.
No,
Make a man out of
no,
you?
the one about
the one that's like
for a long time
I'll
we've
fight
been
for you.
marching.
I'll fight
a girl we're fighting
a girl
for.
we're fighting for.
fighting for.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, that's that's
How
World
about
War
a
II,
girl
World War
who's
One.
got
Like,
a brain?
that's a
who
beautiful
always
thing.
speaks her mind.
Nah.
and that whole like plot line is just butchered in the live action. Not to get into that, but like they show manly men without it seeming like a disease.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think it does a really good job of doing that. And then on top of the music, I thought the score was beautiful too. Just like
absolutely.
the overarching score of it all was awesome.
We were so Greg and I did it properly. We did a hot tub movie, and like
I
5
didn't get the
minutes
invite.
in, and we're just like, "This movie's so good."
Yeah.
It was that was just like in total a pretty amazing.
When it's
Yeah.
doing
That
when
was
she's
great.
when she makes the decision to she's like sitting under the statue and it's raining, and she makes the decision to actually go, and it starts playing the traditional music, but then the 80s drum beat comes in, and we're just like crying. Like,
It's really powerful.
It's
really
really good.
powerful.
And there's no dialogue. There's no words. You know exactly what's going on. Like she's made up her mind. It's so good. And
Also-
it comes right after that really good song.
Reflection.
As well. Yeah.
Reflection. Yeah. Also, another thing that I noticed, the Disney movies that I really, really enjoy have a great, funny sidekick.
Yeah.
And Mushu is no different.
Yeah.
This is like, it kind of made me think of like Robin Williams as Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing another one that was like a
I mean,
famous-
Timon and Pumbaa,
Timon and Pumbaa are
are
great.
good sidekicks. I mean, most all these Disney movies, especially the more modern ones, have like, I mean, in Beauty and the Beast, you had several, but you had Cogsworth and Lumiere.
Lumiere.
And like you always get that kind of comic relief. In Tarzan, you had Turk, who's like in Tantor,
Yeah.
just like the buddies, like the boys.
It's great. It's a great concept, and of course, not even present in the live action. No
God.
such thing.
Hey,
as Mushu.
we get the Phoenix.
Did you watch the pitch meeting?
the
for,
beautiful
the new one?
Phoenix. No.
I don't.
It's like, wow, you were going to remake Mulan. Yeah, but all the fun stuff and the joyful stuff, we're just going to remove all of that. Nobody's going to have any fun in this entire movie.
It's gonna be
But we're not
gritty.
getting there. We're not getting there yet.
It's gonna be gritty. You guys know that there was controversy over Mushu. Controversy probably like now, not back then, but like because he wasn't Asian.
He's a dragon.
And also,
Dragon.
I know, but I literally read half-ass research. It was like, obviously Mushu was problematic, so we had to write that wrong.
How was he problematic?
Wait, time out. What was? How did they know he wasn't
a
Asian?
Dragon.
Eddie Murphy obviously is an Asian, but like it's not like Eddie Murphy was like putting on an Asian accent.
No, he was just
Right.
being
he's
Eddie
being
Murphy.
He's being Donkey from Shrek, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I read that.
That's
and I thought it
problematic?
was so funny. I read an article that
People
said it was
today are
problematic.
just so stupid. Like, do you think dragon is like a species? Is like an ethnicity of people?
That's actually
you
racist.
think
That's more
that?
racist.
Like, you're an
we
idiot.
get some help from
Get
chat.
your brain checked.
So chat said Mulan 2. This is Kristen. Mulan 2 gets.
Why are we having great
Okay,
brain
gets
chat?
Fa Mulan. Okay, sorry. Gets Fa Mulan and her 3 friends. She's trying to find her 3 friends' love interests, and her and Shang fight, and then they get back together at the end. That sounds terrible. That sounds awful. Sounds like a chick flick.
Nice. Also, another good through line of Disney movies that I like is just a great father figure.
Yeah. We were like, man, what a great dad.
Yeah, we were
Great
like
dad.
up there with best. There's been some good dads in these original Disney movies. He's
And
up
hey,
there,
this
man.
one didn't die.
He,
Wow.
It's a good dad who doesn't have to die, and
Beautiful.
it's not a it's a whole family, an intact family structure, and none of them have to die. You like that? Yeah, I do like that.
I do like that, Kirk. Yes,
Thank you.
I do.
It's funny because like right off the bat. So I mean, obviously they're going through the motions of matchmaking. The mom and the dad, like, they're worried for her, but they're also like, we want you to be successful and we want you to be you, but this is kind of they're just following tradition.
Yeah.
And then the whole absolute disaster, and she's sitting near the cherry trees, like,
Beautiful.
weeping, and he goes over and he says, I love the way that they'll speak in Proverbs, and the person they're speaking to will be like, "The hell are you saying?" And then they have to explain it.
Well, no, that one he looks up at the bloom.
Yeah,
and
there's
like,
one cherry
"Look at-"
blossom that hasn't bloomed, and he's like, "The flower that blooms latest will be the most beautiful."
That was awesome. That hit me. Yeah, I called that
and so
out.
the one time you could argue he's being a quote bad dad, but he's really not, is when they're at dinner after he's gotten the summons. And
No,
she's
he's not being a bad
arguing
dad.
with him. He's not being a bad dad,
Yeah.
but the point of tension is she's like, "You'll die if you go. Don't go." And he's like, "I know what I'm supposed to do. It's an honor to die for my country." He's like, "What about us?" He's like, "I'm protecting you.
Said, "I'll die for what's right."
I'll die for what's right." Right?
And that's a great.
And it's interesting, like, because the mom is, you see the silhouette of the mom is distraught as well, but she doesn't say anything because she knows that he's right. Like, he's making, even as much as distressing as it is, like, he's making the right decision.
yeah.
And it's like, I think that movies really, this is a really difficult thing to do in movies. There's been a few times that scenes like this really, really work, and it's amazing. I think of like the original Jurassic Park has an amazing scene similar to this, where there's a bunch of people sitting in a room and they're
Where the
all,
Velociraptor is like, "My son,
Alan. No, it's they're all sitting after dinner after they've seen everything, and the guy who's starting the whole park is asking all of their opinions, and they all have completely different opinions on either why they should launch it or why they shouldn't, and you understand each of them. You're like, that makes a whole lot of sense based on your character. That makes a lot of sense based on your character, and we're not really sure if there's like there's probably a right answer here, and you discover that by the end. The right answer would be to not do the park, but you can nobody's being
well,
an
honestly,
idiot.
the park
Like,
was fine until it got sabotaged."
Right, and you can
Yeah.
and like you can understand everybody's opinion is what I'm saying. So in this scene, you have the dad who, up until this point, has been nothing but supportive of Mulan, even when she fails, even about the whole "you brought dishonor on us."
I'm going to praise some more. I say that all the time.
even throughout all of that, and so you have him at this one point where it's a super stressful time. Like they've just found out that their country is at war, and they need to send somebody. And without question, he's not even considering it. He's like, I have a daughter and a wife. One of us has to go to war. There's not really a discussion there. I
Yeah,
don't
of course
care if
not.
I'm injured. I don't care whatever. I need to go and do this. And so he doesn't say it like that, but he just says, "No, this is the way it is." The man is like I'm going, and you guys are here. I'm going to fight for what's right, and like that's the way it's going to
He's
go.
got to fight for his right
And
to party.
it's for what's right, and it's also for them,
Right.
Because if the Huns take over, they might, like, it's almost worse than death, because you can only imagine what they're going to do. So, like,
Well, we know what they do to villages, right? So, like,
Right.
when the Imperial army's at the Tung Shao Pass, there's this whole scene where the Shan Yu's hawk, like, drops a doll.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, "What do you see? What do you smell?" And from it, they figure out that, they're at the Tung Shao Pass, and they're like, "Well, we can go around them." And Shan Yu says, "No, it's the fastest way. Plus the little girl will be missing her doll." And then they go, and the village is completely burnt, and they find the doll. So the little girl died.
Yeah.
Like, they killed all the
Yeah.
people in the village.
Yeah. And just to
This movie is rated G, and there is so much implied slaughter.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
it deals with death more than probably any Disney movie.
Well, it's
I've
war,
seen.
and it does it
It's
really
war,
well.
yeah.
It does a really good job of showing you the implications of a horrible war and people dying horribly without actually being nasty about it.
Yeah.
But and you need to do that as a movie that's trying to have any kind of like weight at all, and they do a really good job. There's a scene where the Huns capture 2 scouts, and it's intimidating. Like, you feel it while you're there. They're scared. Shan Yu shows himself, and the guy says, "Shan Yu," and then he walks up and he says, "Listen, you need to go back and tell the Emperor." Like, to come and challenge me, pretty much. And as they're running away, he looks to his archer and he says, "How many messengers does it take to send? Or how many scouts
men does it take to
send-"
deliver a message?
Yeah, there you go. And
One.
He says one, and he pulls his bow, and then the scene ends.
Yeah.
And so it's implied that he
Shot
killed
the
one
goon
of
in the
them.
back.
And so there's a lot of heaviness to this, and that scene is just such a big one where they're at the dinner table, because you get Mulan's perspective that she thinks the whole system is silly. Well, you're injured, you're not going to do much anyways. And from his perspective, he's like, like they're going to make one of us go.
She's frustrated because she's like, you're guaranteed to die.
Yeah.
You're going
Yeah,
to die.
yeah.
If you have to fight, you are going to die.
And you get her perspective. You get the mother's perspective that she feels the same way, but she's trying to hold it together because she has a daughter. And so you get all the different like angles there. You're not mad at a single one of them. Like you get Mulan's frustration, you get the dad's stern retort to that, and you get the mother's kind of quieter, somber, and then it all like accumulates, and then this amazing scene where Mulan, in a stint of bravery, says, "Okay, well, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna be brave. I'm gonna like take this step." And you really feel like,
and that's also a really great moment that I actually don't know if I noticed this, if I made this connection until we just watched it recently. So like right in the beginning when they're getting ready, Mulan's getting ready for the matchmaker, and the mom and the grandmom are standing next to each other. The mom says, "Please, ancestors, please, like, let this go well." And the grandma says, "What can the ancestors do? They're dead." And so she got this lucky cricket, right? So she's like, ancestors, schmancestors. And then the instant they find out Mulan ran, the grandma like runs over to the ancestors and starts praying to the ancestors.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like it gets real fast, and it's like no, she absolutely believes in the ancestors. She was just like, when she was pushed to the edge, I was like, oh, I never noticed that before. That at first she's like, whatever, and then she's like, no, we really need this.
It tackles some heavy topics.
And so, what do you guys think about her personal development as far as like what her character was at the start, and then what her character was at the end, and how she got through? Like, how did she get through being a man and all that stuff? Like, what do you guys think about that whole progression?
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to slip into 2023 mode.
Okay, so we're just gonna set this precedent now. The new one's real bad, guys. Okay, we're just gonna break.
No. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about people now being like, "Oh, it's clearly a trans metaphor." It's not. You're stupid.
My gosh!
Did you tried to say that? No. Someone said that.
Probably.
I'm sure. I'm sure someone's tried to be like, it's about that. Like, no. She's clearly a woman the whole time. You're an idiot. You're actually stupid.
Chat chimes in and says, "Be a man or be them." Or
this
Marco.
movie jumped out to
Marco.
me as, oh wow, this is going to be real bad in today's society. Like they're going like gender roles.
Yeah,
like it's a movie that has gender roles involved. Oh, they're going to butcher it.
Well, the one that came out more recently was worse about that. But anyways, so I think it's so good because it shows that she has no idea what she's doing.
yeah.
She's completely she went there and she gets to the camp and she's like before she meets Mushu, she's like pacing outside the camp like, what the hell do I even say?
Right.
Like, hi guys, you got a sword? So do I. Very tough and manly. It's
great.
She has no idea what she's doing. And so when they get in the training montage, one of the best songs of all time, by the way.
Yeah.
And they're doing the training montage and she's failing at everything because she's not not physically fit enough for it.
Right.
And B, she's never trained for anything like this in her life. She's a farm girl. She has no idea what she's doing.
Right.
But she has tenacity. And so...
And there have been there have been super brief moments where you can kind of catch on that she's got like a tactical mind. Like she thinks through things. There's a brief moment where you like Nathanael said, where she ties the bone to the dog. Like she can kind of like problem solve, but also she's walking past a couple guys playing like checkers or chess
and
in
she
the town.
makes a move.
And she looks at it for a second and makes a move, and they're both like, wow. And she walks along. She has a sense of justice. Like there's like this little kid stealing a girl's doll. And she like takes it from him, tosses it back to the girl.
Yeah.
So like there's these little moments that they leave.
They give you hints of her character, and like enough for you to understand who she is and what she's about. But you get the sense of her determination, and then when it's very interesting because she goes and she talks about this later when she's talking to Mushu after she gets kicked out of the army, and she's like, I said I was going to save my dad, but I really feel like I was just trying to prove to myself that I was worth something.
Yeah,
and that's what ends up keeping her there. Like she goes initially to set that up, and then he kicks her out. Like she could have gone home at that point, and they would have gotten off scot-free. Right, because she got sent home. But she's not willing to give up because she's trying to. She's not just trying to save her dad. That's an important part, right? That's it. But she also wants to prove that she's worth something because she doesn't fit in with the expectations of the normal society because she was really a man the whole time.
Which,
no, sorry,
but that's like,
and so then you see her use not just her ingenuity but also just raw effort to get there, and that's the turning point, not just for her, but it inspires everyone else who was also really, really struggling with the training because it was grueling.
Yeah.
Everyone is struggling. And that was the turning point for them to start to be like, maybe we can do this. And so that's where the whole unit gets cohesion. And then from that point on, they're basically ready.
Well, and ultimately, like the main task that the whole sequence starts with is he's like, oh, just climb this pole, grab the arrow off the top of the pole. But then he gives them these huge weights to hold in each hand. And it's impossible. And like that, in my opinion, is the metaphor for the movie, that it's like, listen, she didn't become a guy. Like she's physically weaker than these people, but through ingenuity and through the idea of like, okay, well, I can be smart with these weights. I'm going to tie them around each other and I'm going to use them to shimmy up the pole. And she continues to find ways to do this. In the big battle later.
In the big battle, they're using the rockets and they're like, use the last rocket on Shan Yu. And she sees the snowdrift, and she gets the idea to start an avalanche. So she takes the rocket and shoots it and causes an avalanche, and basically saves the entirety of China because she wipes out the entire Han army.
Kills hundreds.
Yeah, right. Kills hundreds of thousands.
Highest kill
mass
count.
Murderer. Yeah, higher kill count than John Wick.
Yeah, in one fell swoop.
Thousands of people.
Yeah,
buried under ice.
She's a war criminal.
He's a war criminal. I don't know does the Geneva Convention cover avalanches?
It should.
The Hague is like, and Mulan 3 is her coming before being tried by the Hague.
It's just all like a trial. That's like the end of Oppenheimer.
She's also a communist. She's from China.
If Christopher Nolan made this movie, it would start with her like having 3 kids, and then just keep being flashbacks of her like slowly becoming this war hero.
But then at the end again, when they have to try to save the Emperor. Again, her ingenuity of them climbing up the side and then using the fireworks, like they show over and over again that she is always thinking outside the box.
Right.
She's always using her brain rather than her brawn because, again, she's a good fighter. She ends up being a pretty good fighter.
Through training, yeah.
Right, through training. Like, she's like, I'm not the strongest, but I can be the most cunning.
Yeah.
Right? So they show that over and over again, and that she also has this tenacity to never give up.
Right.
Yeah, she's a problem solver.
No, and I think that like this is gonna sound terrible. It felt so good to root for a girl.
The male gaze strikes again.
No,
Massager Greg.
No,
listen.
There. Like my point being that
we hereby denounce Greg and all of his sexist
Is your point
ways.
being that there's just they don't make characters like
No,
this?
like as in, she's a good character,
Yes,
and you want to
she's
root
an
for her.
amazing
She's not a
character.
jerk. She's not. Well, let's. Shall we use that to transition?
Well, okay,
to the live action.
Let's spend a little bit more time on this one because
I would like to spend a whole lot of time on this. I would like to spend hours on this. How good it is.
So what I meant by that is that we see this, and Nathanael is correct to say that this is a decent transition because the remake of this one in today's day and age, she's a useless character. She might as well have just been
so unlikable.
She's just a sponge.
She's
of
nothing. She's a nothing character. Anyways.
So, watching this one, I was like, wow, it's so refreshing to see women written well back then.
For
because
sure.
now, any chance they have to make a woman a lead role, they're like, let's just make her have 0 flaws and be like the most unlikable character ever.
She's oppressed.
And then it's terrible. So that's what I meant by that take. I'll clear it up.
Clip that out.
The movie, I really shouldn't have said that. That was such a bad one.
Shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that.
No, I agree with you. I mean, that's what I said before about a strong, independent woman. Like
I think more than being a female character, like just like a good character. But guess what? That's from what 2005.
I think it might have
this
been
movie?
99,
98.
98. Yeah,
98.
I saw this in theaters.
I know it was before Shrek because I kept making the donkey reference, and I was like, I wonder what came first.
Yeah, but phenomenal movie.
Phenomenal
and
movie.
It's like, how have we gotten worse at writing characters in general, but especially female characters? I mean, no, we've gotten worse at writing male characters
because we live in a society.
We got worse at writing every kind of character.
Every kind of character.
It's just that now, when there is a female lead, it's just like, well, we can't write anything bad about her, can we? Mm-hmm. And then everybody's confused as to why you don't like her.
They're not going to be. She's not going to be saved by the prince.
Not going to have a love interest. And you're like, well, then why do I like this person's just so? You've just created this vacuous mortal.
Mortal,
a big
barely
nothing burger
mortal.
of a character. It's like, look, you have to have flaws in your character or challenges for them to overcome, or they're just not relatable. Period.
And it's
period.
like, and this is a perfect example of like she's a badass chick, like, and she beats the dudes, like, and that's cool because you did a good job writing her. Like, you didn't make her go in there and just all of a sudden be stronger and faster and be a
superhero.
They also show that
all the time.
They also show that, like, in their fight with Shan Yu, like, Shan Yu is just stronger than everyone.
Everybody. Yeah.
So, like, he beats the crap out of Shang, and he's also beating the crap out of Mulan, and so Mulan has to outsmart him.
And she uses the little fan.
The rockets and the fan, and outwits him because he's confident, because he's your overconfidence is your weakness, and your faith in your friend is yours. That's literally what's happening here.
No, it's an amazing.
Citizens, I need firepower.
Who are you?
Phenomenal movie.
Phenomenal movie. Yeah, phenomenal movie. I would say
Absolutely
the humor is great with Eddie Murphy.
I like the little the soldier friends too.
Yeah,
they
they're
make
great.
me laugh.
Her crew,
They're good.
They're great, and this is what I love about it. Right, the whole thing that happens is she gets outed as a woman because she was a woman the whole time. Shocker, I know. She's like, "You misgendered me," and then slaps that's the new version. And, I'm sorry, I don't want to harp on that.
Trigger
but
warning.
like literally, that's
It's hard not to with this,
hard
with
not
this
to.
one. It really is.
But so she gets outed as a woman, and of course the scribe guy is ultimate dishonor, and her boys, Yao, Shenpo, and the other guy,
Ling.
Yeah, Ling.
Who's
Yao,
the big boy?
That's Shenpo.
Yeah,
Yao is
he's
the
the goat.
Yao is the gruff.
He's the goat.
Yao is the gruff boy, and Ling is the skinny boy.
Uh-huh.
They're stepping forward to fight for her,
Yeah.
right? They no longer care. Like, they see that, they're like, she's a woman. They're shocked, but they're like, no, but that's still our friend who just saved our asses. And they're stepping forward, and the guy stops them. You know the law, right? And all the soldiers are like, we don't want her to be executed for this. So all the soldiers are still like, we know this is the law, but we also kind of know that this is not right.
Also, she's helping us a lot.
Right,
And
so when they're trying to battering ram into the Emperor's castle, and she's like, "I got a better idea." Her boys look at each other and then drop it instantly and go to join her because they're like, "Yeah, we're behind
following
you."
her. She's a
Right.
leader.
She's a leader.
Yeah.
And when you hear us, like Nathanael or I or Liam, talk about good character writing, that's what we mean.
Yeah.
We mean a character that when you see them do something, you say, okay, how far do you've established that character? That makes sense they would make that decision. How you've built this world, it makes sense that these characters would make that decision. Now, some of them are going to make decisions you don't like, but you can still say, I understand why you're making that decision. So throughout this entire movie, the reason why it's so amazing is because almost I can't think of a single character where I was like, why would you do that? Like obviously I disagree with why Shan Yu is doing what he's doing, but he's consistent throughout the movie. He's doing exactly what he seeks out to do.
And Shan Yu is that embodiment of strength because his whole thing is the Emperor challenged my strength when he put at that wall.
Right.
Like he's not even that. You never get the impression that he's just trying to take over China. He's trying to prove that he's better.
Yeah.
And I imagine like if the Emperor had bowed to him, he would have been like, sweet. And like everyone saw you bow to me, I'm out. That's all I needed.
Right.
And then of course, like when he doesn't, one of the best lines in the whole movie, he's like, "Bow to me, no matter how the wind howls, the mountain cannot bow." And I'm like, yeah,
So
the
badass.
Emperor. Can we say Emperor is such a badass?
Yeah, he's badass.
So great. The flower that blooms in adversity is the most beautiful at all. Sir,
He's so eloquent.
you don't meet a girl like that every dynasty, dumbass.
No,
He's so great.
He's so eloquent.
I mean,
You
there's
can
so
have
many,
his job.
There's so many good characters, and they're all so accurate as to like how they're built. Like they're doing exactly what you'd imagine them doing. You're not particularly mad at any, other than like Shan Yu's clearly making the wrong decisions. But even like you get Shang, all of her boys, you get even the scribe himself, but like all these big moments, the big turning moments, she's revealed to be a woman or she comes back and warns them. You understand all of the responses. You're not sitting there like, wait, why? These characters are just making a response so that the movie can continue in some way. You're like, nope, they're responding how I'd imagine them responding. So now I'm genuinely curious to see where the movie goes.
Yeah. And then that great moment where she gets home and her dad's sitting on the bench and he's like all sad and that blossom that bloomed late like lands in his lap and he's just thinking about Mulan. She runs up and she's like, "Dad, I've got the sword of the Emperor and the talisman or the medallion of the Emperor and the sword of Shan Yu. I kept the family honor."
Right.
And he's like, yeah, I don't care about that. I'm just happy you're safe and home.
Yeah,
That's such a good moment.
She's like, oh, this pendant, it'll bring you honor. And he's like, the greatest honor I have is having you as a daughter.
Right.
And like all that stuff could matter less.
Yeah, he literally throws it on the ground.
It could all.
It's so good.
And,
Such a great moment.
And then
great
you
dad.
get you get Shang having a similar type response to her character and saying, all right, like despite all the dishonesty or whatever you did, you're amazing. Like you're incredible. You saved my life.
And you know what they never did?
What?
No one ever goes up to Mulan and says, you're so brave and incredible and awesome.
Yes.
And people just don't realize that. No one ever says that.
That's a really good point because that's a great point, actually, because so many movies now, they do such a poor job of actually demonstrating a character that is showing bravery or courage or a noble attribute.
It's because they're not actually showing it with their actions. So they have to have a
person come in and just say, hey, just letting you know that you're brave and powerful and awesome.
You're the bravest, strongest, most wonderful person I know. And I'm like, they just murdered people
it just cuts
and did nothing and are just jerks. Like, so this is, it's a big thing. And people talk about it a lot. Is showing over telling.
Yes.
The less you can... The more you can show,
much more
it is, but the more you can show with people's actions and you get a sense of who they are. So like Mulan is never like, hi, I'm so clever. No one's like, wow, Mulan, you're so clever. You show her through what she is doing, her winning the little chess game, her tying the stick to little brother to feed the chickens, right? Everything that she shows you is that she is smart and clever and tries to use her wits to gain an advantage.
And you don't need to hold the viewer's hand through it all.
Right. And the fact that everyone acknowledges that she's awesome and worth following, they don't say anything. Again, they just look at each other, drop the statue, and go follow her lead.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that man, I've just lost my thought.
I thought you were gonna have a deep.
No,
deep
it totally was.
Deep, Greg.
It totally was.
Get back
what was
to
it?
rain check.
Don't talk for 2 seconds. No, that's worse.
This is riveting podcast.
Good audio.
Quick, talk about something. Talk about something.
Live action.
Do we want to transition? No.
Okay, I have an awesome thought.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so one thing that's great about this movie is it's so well paced. It's so well paced, and the transitions. So there's a lot of really funny moments. There's a lot of really lighthearted moments, and there's also a lot of really serious, somber moments. And it transitions so well between those moments. It never feels jarring. It transitions from this is so funny to this is so tragic, I'm crying, really, really well. So you get obviously in the beginning is really like dark and serious with Shan Yu showing up, and then it transitions to Mulan's intro, and that's lighthearted and fun. And then the matchmaking thing happens, and then she's like, you will never bring honor to your family, and transitions to a serious moment. And then that leads into the more serious moment, and then she goes off to war, and then the whole camp thing is very silly, and it's very silly up until the point where they get to the village, and they're even in the middle of their silly song about the women they want to date.
Yeah, that's
and like a girl, we're fighting, and then just cuts.
Gets real.
And you see just the carnage.
Gets real.
And it gets real, real fast. And it never feels so sometimes you can have like tonal shifts like that don't work. But it's so well done because it's mirroring what's happening to the characters. The characters are having a good time. They're just like, yeah, we're marching off the battle. We're just trying to alleviate. We're really bored. And we're just trying to alleviate our fun. And then, record scratch comes to a screeching halt because now they've found the battle and it's serious now.
Yeah. Well, rarely does it work the opposite way, which they did a good job to not do. Hey, this is dark and serious. We're going to make a joke. Which is where modern movies, Marvel specifically, has no kind of courtesy for.
And that's because it's like the humor is out of place for what the characters would be doing. So there's a scene in like Private Ryan where they all end up like sharing stories and laughing.
Yeah.
But it makes sense, like the characters are trying to use levity to get around the horrible things that are happening. So it's like a really well done scene where in this very, very serious movie, there's a small bit of laughter and levity.
That's a great scene.
And
Matt Damon.
It fits well because it makes sense for the characters to be doing that. One of the reasons that the Marvel humor really doesn't work, like let's use Thor: Love and Thunder, for example.
Oh, gosh.
Where they're like, I'm dying of stage 4 cancer. da-dum, and you're like, what the hell? That's not. It's one thing if someone's like making a joke and like laughing to themselves, and the other people are just like sad.
That's just not natural. That's not how people operate.
It's completely unnatural to how people wouldn't act in real life.
Yeah. Or they have an ice cream restaurant called Infinity Cones, and it's like that would be like making a 9/11 themed ice cream shop.
That would be like that would be like a place called Hitler's Latkes.
Yes, it'd be like
It's a good point.
Like it's just horrible. Anyways,
it's the worst event in human history.
I remembered my thought. I remember my thought, and we can get on to live action.
Anyway,
okay.
Let's talk about live action.
So live action. No, I control things. I will mute you right now.
How can you do this?
What I was
This
going
is
to say.
outrageous.
What I was going to say
better be good.
is characters that show bravery and that grow with their character, obviously, they have to overcome adversity. And Mulan in this movie is not doing what she's doing because she's saying, it's just so unfair that I'm treated this way.
Yeah.
She's doing what she's doing because she feels she has to. And she admits later that there was a part of her that really wanted to.
Yeah.
And so like, that's really, really cool. And that's really amazing writing. And that's also her saying, hey, I'm choosing to be brave. I don't need everybody's pity. Like, I'm here doing this. You can recognize that I'm brave. All the people around me are recognizing that I'm brave. And I don't need to, I don't need everything to change so that I don't have to overcome adversity. Like, if you're a girl and you want to join the Chinese army, there's going to be adversity that guys don't have to face. Granted, we're really glad that gender roles aren't that extreme anymore, at least here in the States, where you're not like, oh, you're a woman. You can't talk.
Woman. Despite what people might tell you, it really isn't. It really isn't.
But you can also look at that and say, okay, well, if a girl ever does want to join a football team, a guy's football team, it shouldn't be, well, look at all these obstacles that are in our way. It should be, it's going to be really tough for a girl to join a football team. Do it if you can. Go work super hard and show us that you can do it. But don't just be like, oh, there are obstacles. It's just unfair. It's like that whole movie was showing that she is choosing to be brave and to do all these things and to overcome adversity.
The example I would give is, I don't know, have you ever watched Paralympic swimming?
No, I can imagine.
There's a dude, he's a backstroker, he has no arms. And so in order to start, they put a little like a rope with a bit on it, and he grabs it with his teeth to pull himself up to do the start.
It's insane.
And I'm like, this is the most baddest thing ever. But you think that was easy for him? Like I'm not trying to equate women with people with no arms. My point is, if you have a disadvantage, if you're at an inherent disadvantage, right? Which, for your example of a high-end football team, women would be at a disadvantage for like the physical muscle mass that you would need to play at a high level. Like most men don't even qualify for that.
Sure, of course.
Right? So if you're at a natural disadvantage, you don't say, well, the game is unfair. You say, no, I'm just going to have to work 9 times as hard as everyone else.
Yeah, right.
Right? Imagine the training that guy had to do to learn how to do a backstroke start versus what I have to do a backstroke start is insane. Like the level to which he had to the effort he had to put in to get to that spot is so much more. And it's not saying that you can't do it. It's just saying like you're going to have to overcome more obstacles.
Yeah. And that's exactly,
and that's okay.
And that's where you get good stories.
That's where you get heroes.
All good stories and heroes come from moments like that. It doesn't come from it's so funny. Like, I'm telling you guys nowadays, like I'm gonna sound like an old person, but kids nowadays,
you are an old person.
It's the opposite. They're trying to convince everybody else that they can't do it. It's like the world saying, "Wait, no, you're capable of doing this," and this army of little people going,
I can't
"No,
work more than 3 days a week, and I have to work from home." Like
because of my dyslexia. Because of my dyslexia, I can't go to college, and it's like that's what I could have said to myself. But if you didn't know, I'm very dyslexic.
Very
horrible.
Dyslexic.
If you haven't seen our slides,
chef's kiss.
They're pretty bad. But no, I said I do want to go to college, but it means it's going to be a lot harder for me than the normal person.
Well, it's obviously a lot easier to just give that up.
Right.
But that's where heroes are born, when you overcome that.
Yeah, and that's what makes a good story is kind of my point. And this is why it's a good story, and it's just great. So,
like, everyone, there's always going to be an area in your life where you, for whatever reason, you are going to struggle more than other people. Mm-hmm. And that has, most of the time, has nothing to do with the actual, quote, fairness of whatever task you're trying to do.
Sure.
Okay? That is just life. You're always going to have disadvantages in some areas. And to overcome those, most of the time, takes just more effort on your part than, you'll see other people just stream through. Okay. I teach chemistry. Some people really struggle. A lot of people really struggle with chemistry. Very easy for me. Mm-hmm. I am so bad at physics. I struggled so much in physics. I had to take physics again. I had to retake physics because I did so badly the first time. Okay, it has nothing. It might not even have anything to do with like your intelligence. Like people just wired differently, and have different strengths and weaknesses. So there's always going to be things that you struggle with, and it's about putting the effort in to overcome those obstacles. You can do it, but it takes discipline and effort, and that's what Mulan is about. It's like these disadvantages, these bad situations you're in. You can overcome them if you're willing to put in the work, if you have that courage and that bravery and that thinking outside the box.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
Well, the success stories like in sports and stuff are not the ones where the guys just continually plow through everybody.
It'd be like if you were
lose.
watching Mighty Ducks and the rich bad guys won and just won over
Just
and over and over
just
again. And
wipe
we're
the
just
floor.
like,
Yeah.
we would just be different.
Yeah. No,
Imagine
you
Seattle
overcome
too.
adversity. That's what makes a success story.
Yeah. No one's rooting for the bad, like the rich team in Mighty Ducks.
Right.
Like,
Well, this actually makes me think of something. So Jakob actually left me a couple voice messages.
wait, do we want to talk about the
couple?
original first or the remake first? Or do you want to use him as a transition?
Let's use them as a transition.
All right.
I just want to see if
Let's.
I can pull up these voice memos.
It's another
here real
voice
quick.
memos, huh? 'Cause
Yeah,
usually
it's
they're just
fancy
written
lad.
notes.
It's a
He's a
couple.
fancy lad.
It's a couple of voice memos, and
You like send these via text?
yeah, well, so I woke up. I had a couple missed calls from him.
Like actual
And
voice
yeah,
memos.
yeah, and it was one long voice message, and then he like cut out, and then he sent me a second voice message.
Can't wait.
So
We've never actually heard his voice.
so
I mean,
That's correct.
have.
the
we've
people know that we
tried
do
to
our
recreate.
best.
I mean, I think he sounds like all of us. Jakob is all of us. We are all Jakob.
We are all Jakob.
We are all Jakob. So without further ado, here is Jakob's voice messages.
Hey guys, wow, I can't believe you guys actually made it through all the Disney movies. If your opinions weren't all horrible, I would tell you good job. So I watched the Mulan movies and I couldn't stop crying in the live action one. I mean, the message just rings so true. Women just don't get listened to and it's so sad. Anyways, have fun with your sexist show, The Three White Idiots. Good luck not being girls.
I've been doing great at not
Who
being a
does
girl
the
so far.
animated Mulan?
Wow.
Okay, hold on. This is the second message.
I will just say I have been very successful in not being a girl.
Do better.
Side note, who does the animated Mulan think he are? If I have to hear Nathanael say, oh, that movie was a 10 out of 10 one more time, I think I might just have to pull a Mulan myself and dress like a man just to make it onto your show so I can smack him. Oh, okay, bye, for real this time, you guys suck.
Yo. Wow.
I don't know. I honestly, I didn't even know he had my number.
You just got a call from
Jakob.
random
Jakob.
numbers.
Hey, Jakob.
That's crazy, dude. Why didn't he just call me? He called Greg. He went straight to the producer because he knew it would get on the show.
Yeah, apparently. Well, I mean, again, if Jakob wants to be on the show, he's going to go on the show. Like, we don't really have an option there.
I don't want to break the fourth wall, but that was not your voice.
Just thank God.
What?
That wasn't your voice.
That was Jakob.
That was
Jakob. 100%.
That was Jakob's voice.
100%.
That's the one we've been imitating the whole time. I just thank God he doesn't actually watch the show. We
Holy
can say whatever the hell we
shit.
want because the only thing he does is make sure that we actually read his letters or listen to his voicemails on the air. And as long as we do that, he stays off our back. So,
Yeah.
point to Jakob. He at least lets us do whatever we want.
This time,
does.
you guys suck.
God damn it.
So he doesn't listen to any of what we say, but he just assumes it's all crap, pretty much.
I asked him one time and he was like, yeah, whenever you talk, I just hear white noise.
This
Because you're
time,
white.
you
you
saw him
guys
in person?
suck.
I run into him in the weirdest places. Ran into him in
Really?
Earth Fair, and he was buying a bunch of kale.
That sounds about right.
And I was like,
Yeah. He goes to those fairs very often.
And I was like, dude, that's too much kale. He's like, what do you know? And I said,
No such thing? No such thing as too
I
much
asked him,
kale?
I said, we're reading your stuff on the air. Like, do you listen? He's like, every time you speak, I just hear white noise because you fight and you make a lot of noise. And I was like,
Guys
well, I
suck.
can't really argue with. I was like, I can't really argue with that.
Thanks for
I got
that.
me there.
I ran into him in a baseball cap store, and he was buying himself a fedora, and I just acted like I didn't see him. He acted like he didn't see me either.
That's the
Suck.
best. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah, I just.
All right, so there was the second movie we watched this week.
So remember how I said about 10 hours ago when we started the podcast, remember I said Greg and I were watching the original Mulan, and 5 minutes in we're just like, this movie's so good. 30 seconds into Mulan and it is destroyed everything.
I saw
Literally everything just shattered and thrown to the ground.
before I watched it and I saw the runtime, I almost threw up.
And that wasn't great either, but
What was the runtime?
it was
Because
2 hours.
It, just
It was
felt-
exactly
it
2 hours, although the last 13 minutes are
felt like
credits.
5.
Yeah, it's not a well-paced movie. It's egregious. So
Nathanael, give us the shortest synopsis
no,
ever.
no, I can't. I literally can't. So
No,
He's gonna get angry. He's gonna start yelling.
Liam,
No.
you've never given a synopsis. We can
So-
we can rant about it all we want.
But see, the thing is, I have to. Okay, let me give you the shortest synopsis. All right. So Mulan joins the army to save her dad, just like before. Except for now, instead of Shan Yu, it's this guy named Bori Khan, and he's got this witch named
It's something.
Names
It's a
don't
wild.
matter.
It's a wild name.
named
Side
whatever.
note-
It's like Shi Nang or something. That's not. I wasn't trying to be funny there. Okay.
Hey, anyways,
It is that.
anyways, she goes and she does the army training, and she meets the soldier boys.
Brutish men.
yeah,
Just brutish men.
Yeah, she's
Big dumb oafs.
They're not even
really
brutish
strong.
men. They all look like B-level actors.
Yeah, they go to fight. They meet. She gets lost somehow. Meets the witch, and the witch is like, "Doesn't it suck being a woman in a man's world?" She's like, "Yeah, it does." And so then she takes off her armor and stops being Po or whatever Ping. Her name was whatever her name was.
Well, the witch
Huashan.
tried to kill Mulan.
Yeah,
and then
witch fights
30
Mulan,
seconds later
and then 30
was
seconds Mulan's like, "All right, I'm fine," and then takes off all her armor and goes and basically wins the battle. And they're like, "Wait a minute, you're a woman, get out of here!" And
she doesn't cut her hair, by the way.
She doesn't-
So
no.
she's just
No, she lets it
obviously
flow.
a
She
girl
lets it
the
flow.
whole time.
and then she meets back up with the witch, and the witch is like, "Oh, by the way, Bori Khan is going to assassinate the emperor." And Chose's like, "Uh-oh." So she goes and back to the army, and she's like, "Yeah, Bori Khan's going to assassinate the emperor." And they're like, "Okay, where do we go?" So they go and they stop Bori Khan from assassinating the emperor, and she kills Bori Khan, and then the witch dies, saving Mulan, which was weird. And then she kills Bori Khan, and that's the end.
This
But
time, you guys suck.
no, we don't. That was accurate.
That was literally the
But
the
you're
whole
missing
movie.
a big
You
part.
guys suck.
She's a superhero.
But I was just giving the brief. If yeah.
That was actually don't tell. That was actually good. That's
was
what
great.
When I
So that
say
was the
synopsis,
synopsis.
it just needs to be like, this is what happened. Now let's talk.
So I
about
shouldn't
the
say you're
details.
missing
So
a
now
good
let's
part.
talk
I would
about
like
the
to add a
details.
part. She's a superhero.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
This is a Marvel
in the
movie,
first
basically.
5 seconds of the movie, they say, "Okay, so there's this stuff called chi,
The Force.
the Force, and it makes you super powerful."
Mm-hmm.
But
I'd venture to say it's even more powerful than the
yes,
Force.
it's a bit ridiculous. So
Whatever the hell she has
basically
got.
okay, so here's the
Here's the rub.
getting so mad just thinking about it. Okay.
For real
so
this time, you
they
guys
say, okay,
suck.
so
I hate
Mulan
'em.
has this stuff called chi,
hate
which
it.
makes her super strong and super
is
good at
crazy.
fighting and all that, right? Here's the problem. Girls can't use chi because it makes them witches. Boys can use chi because they're warriors. And I'm like, if that isn't the most asinine thing that I have ever heard in my whole life, I'm sorry. You're like, "Ah, man, this boy has superpowers and this girl has superpowers. So the boy's going to be a superhero and the girl, just don't use your superpowers because that would be bad." Like,
Yeah, this is
What?
this is the biggest. So this is the biggest problem with this movie. So like, there's going to be a lot.
There's
We're going to
many.
talk about it at length.
there's going to be a lot.
But the main
they establish very
the
early
main-
on, like when she is a child, she already has super ninja, flippy, ultra superpowers.
Floating in
floating
midair.
superpowers.
It really is similar to
and
the Force.
she gets chastised not for using her superpowers, but for using her superpowers because she's a girl. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Are we glossing over the fact that this child has superpowers? And they imply that it's kind of normal for women to have super powerful chi. They just don't use it because it's okay for the men to use the superpower, but it's not okay for the women to have the superpower. And I'm sorry, is the message supposed to be? And literally, it's exactly what you think I don't want to use the word woke, but like the modern version of the women overcoming trials is. She already has the superpowers the whole time. All she has to do is just decide to use them.
Yep. She didn't have to work for
Didn't have
it.
to, no, she's literally, so they're doing the training and she's failing because she's not using her chi. And then literally she just decides, you know what? There's like no dialogue.
Captain Marvel.
She says like 3 words. She's like, you know what? I'll use my chi. And she just like smokes all the other dudes. And then her commanding officer is like, I know you're hiding a secret. And she's like, oh, well, they found out that I'm a woman. He's like, you have superpowers. You should use those. And I'm literally like, what? Are you kidding me? Like,
But what? Okay, so I'll break in briefly here. So like, what I mean though by this is the biggest problem in the movie is that like we mentioned earlier, what good writing is when you see a character and say, I can understand why that character is acting the way they're acting. So the problem with the world that they've created is we now have created a world where certain people can have chi superpowers and certain people can't. And but then there's something that doesn't make sense within the world they've created, which is we're at war. We want to save people. We want to fight. In a normal world, you would say, okay, we can even see like an archaic view of this, and maybe it's not even that archaic, but to say, well, I want our men to go and fight because they're bigger, they're stronger, they can't reproduce, and we'll save the women. That's kind of like the idea of like old school
They can
Mulan.
reproduce, but I get what you're saying.
Okay. Well, they're not going to be the ones that have babies.
All the eunuchs are going to go fight for us.
So in this new world, you can have women that are 10 times more powerful than men. Why would you? Why in any universe that you created where men and women both have superpowers, would the women not be able to use the superpowers to save the country?
That should be your whole army.
Yeah, so nobody in the world would be saying don't use your superpowers. Every army so far, what they've showed us in this universe is that there are 2 women in the whole universe that have chi. At the very end, you're like, oh, the Emperor kind of has chi too. No, the only thing we see is the bad lady has chi and the good lady has chi. And
Bori
the
Khan
good one's
has
like
some chi.
Okay,
There's levels
But the girls
of
have
chi.
way more chi. Like,
levels to this.
like their power levels over 9,000. Okay, so the witch, the
Good luck not
witches,
being girls.
Oh, that's another one.
the witch's whole thing is she's allied with Bori Khan because Bori Khan's like, hey, if you help me take over China, I'll let you live in peace, because she's been like ostracized from her people, and she's like, but then he treats her like crap.
yeah,
She's oppressed.
And then the army, like, again, Mulan shows up, and so in the original, she's trying to convince them that the Huns are invading, and they're just like, sorry, Mulan, we can't talk to you, right? They're just ignoring her. They don't want to, but they're just ignoring her, right? And this one, they're like, wait, the Emperor's going to be assassinated? All right, Mulan will follow you. And then at that point, the witch should be like, wait a minute. Hold the phone. Bori, hello? You're treating me like dirt, and they're just following the woman. So why don't I just go join
with
forces
them,
with them?
yeah.
But
right?
This is the problem I just pointed out. It's like for all of time, like presumably you've had men and women both with these superpowers.
Yeah, it's established
And-
that women who use chi, that like women can use chi,
Yes.
and are really powerful when they use chi.
And so now you have one that's superpowered, and it's not because she's an amazing warrior. She just has the superpowers. Because we established that when she didn't use them, she was getting beaten all the training exercises. She looked like a farmer girl who would go into a battle. But now when she uses her chi, she's a superhero. So you're sitting there, and then she goes to the army and says, hey, I know I'm a woman, I know I lied, but I've got superpowers, and like I'm risking a lot by coming back to you because you guys said you'd kill me. So won't you believe me? And they go, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That checks out.
That checks out.
And they look at her and they're
That
like,
works.
they're like, also, you're way more powerful than all of us.
Yeah,
and so you're telling
they
me
make a sensible
never.
decision. They're
You're
like,
telling me,
you're a really good fighter. We should probably be okay with you.
So you're telling me never in all of human history for that part of the world has anybody been like, hey,
Okay.
I could kill people way better than anybody here because I have superpowers.
So-
And they've been like, yeah, that's a good idea. We should drop the whole no women can
Like,
fight thing.
Okay, so
We witnessed it. We
so
witnessed
this
the first
is
one.
this is just bad world building.
It's horrible.
Like abysmally bad world building, because it flies in the face of what common sense dictates. So it's like, okay, why are men traditionally the people who go out to fight?
Yes.
And not women? And it's because of physical differences. Men are
Yes.
typically, on average, right, bell curve, stronger and faster
Right.
than women. So logically, when you're asking for a very physically demanding thing, war, you're going
Right.
to send the men, right? That makes sense. Doesn't mean there can't be exceptional women, but on average, the men
Yes.
are going to excel in that area.
Right.
Okay, so that makes sense. They also tend to be more aggressive, right? Testosterone, there are hormonal differences. So, right, it
Emotionally
makes more
distant.
sense. It makes more sense to send men to fight, right? If we're establishing a world
Yes.
where women have superpowers,
Yep.
this whole dichotomy that you're complaining about, even though it makes physical sense, right, for millennia, this is how it's worked because of known differences. If you erase those differences, then the world no longer develops along those lines
Yes.
because of known. It's so okay. So you guys probably don't know about this because this is like obscure comic knowledge.
Are you
so
saying
there's a
that-
comic writer who I'm pretty sure his pen name is Kwanzaa. It
I
might not.
don't
It
know
might not
about him.
actually. It might not actually be Kwanzaa, but the guy I was watching who did the reviews of this kept calling him Kwanzaa. So I don't know if this is actual
he's
pen
Jewish.
name. No,
Is that, how does it spell that for me? No,
Kwanzaa.
yeah, is that like the
KWANZ?
holiday?
Yeah, like
Oh,
the
okay.
holiday.
It's not Jewish.
But he wrote this book
Kwanzaa?
series.
That's Hanukkah, bro.
Kwanzaa? What's Kwanzaa?
It's a made up. It's a.
Oh.
It's weird, hard to explain. It's like a weird made up quote unquote African holiday. It's not actually. It was invented in like 1960s.
I thought it had some weird connection to Hanukkah.
No.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm way off.
They also use. They also have a candlestick, but it doesn't have the same number of candles.
That's
but.
probably why.
Good luck not being girls.
Good luck.
Anyways, the point is, he wrote a series of comics, where basically black people have superpowers. So he wrote a series of comics where black people and only black people have superpowers. Like something about the African continent gives people superpowers, right? But then he has like the American slave history of American slavery happen exactly the same. And like, you think that would happen the same?
No.
If all the black people were literally Superman? That makes zero sense. So it's
Right.
like you want to have your cake and eat it too. It's like, no, you can't change the basic fundamentals of how things are working and then assume history. And this is not just this, but like a lot of alternate histories.
Yeah.
You change something radically and you're like, history would be very different.
Butterfly
Why did history
effect.
happen the exact same way?
The butterfly effect.
Yeah,
To a massive degree.
And this is, and like I said, plenty of problems with this movie. That is the biggest,
That is the
glaring
biggest,
one,
most glaring one.
And it's in your face the whole movie because the two things shoved in your face the whole entire movie are nobody respects Mulan and she's very disgraceful because she's a woman and she's
a
also
superhero.
superpowers. So those two things are constantly thrown at you and you're going, why? And then
Why?
until and this is the greatest, and this caught me off guard, until all of them go, okay, yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
And it checks out. And you're sitting there like, you stupid idiots. This is exactly how the world would have existed if this was true. You dumb,
You guys ever
stupid
seen?
idiots.
Have you ever seen Rudy, the movie Rudy?
Yeah,
The
of
sports-
course. It's beautiful.
It's like this scene where they come in, they bring their jerseys in for Rudy. When everyone was standing up, like, I'm with. What did they say? I'm with Mulan.
I'm Spartacus.
It's like
yeah.
I'm Spartacus.
this is for Rudy. This is for Rudy. And, then
And,
everyone's like,
and in
"All right."
reality, it's like the main dude was just like, hey, yeah, we can't do this. You're a girl. You lied to us. And then all of them are like, hey, I believe her. And they're like, yeah, I believe her. And then he goes, yeah, I believe you too.
I mean, I believe you too.
That's
All
not
right,
the
well,
my
Dumbest-
captain.
It's the dumbest dumb
and
that I've ever
here's
seen.
And here's what makes it
It's
so,
just so-
utterly insidious. So again, we were
it's so
talking about
dumb.
but like just before we actually got on the air, we were talking about, because next week we're going to do rankings,
Yeah.
and we were talking about like, how do you feel about this one? And I think that Mulan might be the best animated movie. I realize there's a strong contention there, but I think it might be the best.
It's up there, man. It's phenomenal.
It's
Just
up
like
there,
the impact of the story itself is just so good. And for those people who are like, representation is important, like a Chinese woman is the person that I am resonating with.
Yeah.
So figure that one out. Maybe I'm secretly. I'm sorry, guys. I identify as a Chinese woman.
Eat
I-
shit,
Well.
haters.
Good luck not
Everyone
being
calling
girls.
us
Well,
misogynistic.
I'm a Chinese woman now. So there you go. There you go, Jakob. I did it for you.
Good luck not being girls.
Good luck not being girls.
Anyways, the point is, the reason. So like, if you were to just watch the live action movies and not watch the animated ones, this would not be the worst movie. It'd be bad, but it wouldn't be the worst. The worst would be like Dumbo or Pinocchio, maybe Peter Pan.
I don't
just
know,
'cause
man.
they're just trash. This one is at least like, it's stupid. But there's some flashy visuals.
think
It's
that-
basically,
I
if
actually
you
thought the
squint your-
visuals were good.
Yeah, if you
I
squint your
actually enjoyed
eyes,
the
if you
visuals.
squint your eyes, you're watching a much worse Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
It didn't even feel like a Disney movie
Yeah.
at all. Like if you just watch this in a vacuum, I would not have picked up
Yeah.
on any Disney. Like it
Yeah.
felt like it was kind of dark. Like they
Yeah.
were showing like soldiers like in.
It's PG-13.
heaps.
It's PG-13.
Okay, that makes sense. But like
And-
it didn't
and-
feel like
to go back
Disney
to my
at
point
all.
about the superpower thing, they send her the witch. They send her to wipe out entire battalions and cities by herself, and it's like, you say you can't find a place. Could you not just be like, hey, look how super powerful I am. Anyone who wants to follow me, I'm going to build my own kingdom with blackjack and hookers. Whoever wants to follow me, let's go. I'm literally Superman.
Yeah,
I think you could gain some traction there.
Her through line might have been the second biggest
I
problem.
don't even. What was the purpose?
Her purpose was, okay, you've established a character who is not just mildly like hands like this character could do anything she wanted. So just to get the audience
Except
up
not
to,
die at the end.
This
Hey-o!
this is part of the problem. So just to bring the audience up to speed, this like sorcerer can like. She can turn into like a flock
Birds,
of birds.
a flock of
She can turn
bats.
into a single bird. She can be half bird, half human, but she can also just like catch arrows and spears as they're thrown at her.
Yeah,
and
she's
throw
like
them
super
back.
duper powerful. She
just-
can use her clothing as a weapon.
she can like turn. Like,
Yo,
she,
there was some wax CGI I noticed.
yeah, she can like morph into any character that she wants in the movie and impersonate people. She is She's like invincible. Okay.
She's Thanos.
So this is this person, and this person is walking around like nobody likes me. Like
So ridiculous.
Dude, you are the most powerful thing that is established in this fictional universe you've created. And you're walking
so
around
dumb.
like nobody likes me. You could do anything worth nobility and everybody would praise
Are
you.
they trying to garner sympathy for her?
Mulan did it for 3 seconds and everybody goes, yep, that checks out. You're right. You absolutely are right. You are better than everybody. You need to fight like now.
You're supposed to feel bad for the witch.
And
what?
they try to do that because they established that this bad guy who's the Shun Yu version, whatever his name is,
Bori Khan
is like
Boring Khan, more like hey.
she like grabs him by the throat. She's like, I could kill you in a second. And so you're expecting Bori Khan to be like,
maybe you should.
You're expecting Bori Khan to like have something to say where he's like, yeah, you couldn't because I'm super strong too. And then he just goes, no, but I'm trying to create a world where people will accept you. And I'm like, wait, I'm sorry, what? Why doesn't she lead that force?
Maybe Stockholm syndrome. He's just like brainwashed her.
Okay, I'm going to preface this, unlike Craig, I'm going to preface that saying, I'm joking completely here, so please understand that. No, the reason she couldn't do that is because she's a woman. She can't lead.
Clip it.
Oh my God.
Clip it out. Clip it out and post it on the YouTube, Greg. Put this man on blast.
Good luck not being girls.
That's right, Jakob.
She sadly
have said
walks
it better
away,
myself.
puts her apron on, goes back to the kitchen. Like,
Clip
what
it.
is she doing? Why is she not taking control? Like, you're clearly more powerful than literally any other anything.
Being.
Like, you can wipe out entire battalions by yourself. Will you fucking do something? God, it's so stupid.
Well,
I
so
apologize.
The stupidest part, though, is at the end, after, she has had some kind of, like just horribly blurred, terribly written character arc, if you want to call it that, where she now sees that Mulan is accepted by not being a dick and using her powers for
Shocker.
good. And she goes, oh.
Wait,
she's-
you can do that?
She did it by...
Wait, that was an option?
You don't have to kill people.
Good luck not being girls.
It's
Couldn't
like
have said
the
it better
most
myself.
incompetent bad guy, just like, wait, you're saying I could not do that? Why didn't anyone tell me this? Oh,
But she has a...
don't kill people.
No,
Okay.
but the stupidest part, though, is that she does have this character arc where at the very end, she's like, oh my gosh, Mulan's kind of cool because she's a girl and she did what I couldn't.
Well,
she like,
because
got people to love
she's
her.
like, hey, you're like me, let's join forces. And I'm like, okay, first of all, you don't need her. You've established that you don't need anyone to be the most powerful thing since sliced bread or whatever. How
This
that
is the
saying
bad
goes.
girl we're talking
Yeah,
about.
the bad girl. She like tries to seduce Mulan to the dark side of the force. Mulan's like, nah, I'm good. And it turns out that Mulan was, pretty good. It's funny because so after their first fight, she basically is like, you're lying to everyone and to yourself, and like stabs her, but doesn't actually kill her.
Well,
and then
she
she's like
says
Mulan or what is it, Fashua or whatever her
Fashwa.
whatever the fake name was she was using because it wasn't Ping. Fashua.
Not even close.
You know
Not even
what?
close.
I
Good
don't
luck
remember.
not
It wasn't
being
important. Ping. And she's like,
That's what I'm
Ping is
saying.
dead. And so then she wakes up and she's like, yeah, I'll just be Mulan. Just takes off all her armor and lets her hair flow in the wind. It's like, yeah, that's going to be great for a battle. And then she goes in and just like kicks all sorts of ass. And that was some of the worst CGI. She's on her horse and then she like hops up and then she hops up again and then she kicks a spear and it hits some guy and some guy goes flying. And it's like, you can see where they like cut between the different, it's so bad.
No,
It is-
so bad.
But to finish off Bad Girl's terrible character arc is that at the very end she's now to change her heart. Now she wants to be on Mulan's side, and so she is deceived Bori Khan and told Mulan where Bori Khan and all of his people are. So Mulan is on her way. And Bori Khan just finds out, and he's like, oh my gosh, you tricked me. So then he sees Mulan riding towards him on a horse, and he shoots, and nobody responded for a second right here. He shoots an arrow at her. So far, we've established that Mulan does not get hit by arrows. She grabs arrows out of the air and shoots them back at people, or she kicks them in the air and then kicks them back at the people, which she did surprising number of times.
Yeah.
So she shoots this arrow, and Bad Girl goes, oh my gosh, a single arrow is shot at my superhero friend. I am also a superhero who can't be killed by arrows. What's the conclusion? Run in front of the arrow and die.
Not only run in front of the arrow and die, not only like
Turn into a
intercept the arrow.
bird.
It's okay. So you know, like
An
you can
honorable
stop
death.
an arrow with your hand, like or just like deflect. Like you didn't even need to. But she's like, no, hit me. Right. She like pivots so it hits like right in the heart and instantly kills her. And Mulan instantly sees this, and is like, no, like doesn't think like, wow, that bird just got shot. It's like, no, it's the witch, my friend. Like what?
That is the most honorable death, though.
Is to turn into a bird and get shot by an arrow?
You know what it was?
very
The witch was like, I need to get out of this damn movie.
Yeah,
She was like, I see my chance. And Mulan's like, no, that was for me. No, I
Like,
stayed
can I
in this
just
bad
commit
movie.
suicide to get out of this movie?
It's
please?
just functionally made
Okay.
all of the characters, like
So-
just in the two things that we've explained, how the world doesn't make sense with girls being superpowered and bad girl having a character arc that made no sense.
I mean,
The way
that's-
you
that's
said
the
that
entire
alone,
plot.
Just pause. The way you said that, I know what you're saying, but the way you said it made it sound like the girls having superpowers is what doesn't make sense. Like, why would girls have superpowers? Massage Greg starts again now. The girls, what the girls did made no sense with the superpowers, given the superpowers they
Yes,
had.
I just we've already talked about that point,
It's very
and we
funny
talked
the way
about
you
the bad
said that.
character arc with the baddie girl. But
Bori
there was
Khan is just there.
So many other things though in this movie. Like there were
The
so
Emperor
many
sucks.
There's
The
so
Emperor's
many
a
times
douchebag.
that I
Sucks.
looked at the movie and I was like, this looks like a Saturday morning special that just lasted for 2 hours. Like the acting mixed with some of the scenes that I was like, this looks like it was filmed in a room like this, and like they just poured water on the floor and had reeds of grass and they painted the walls. And they were like, hey, here are 4 people in a room. And doesn't it look like we're out in the forest, guys? We're out in the forest.
You didn't like the visuals?
Don't tell me. No, it was
I
terrible.
actually, there's some scenes that I actually really
There are a couple of
enjoyed
them.
visually.
It's not terrible.
I
know visually it's not terrible. The
I thought
CGI is bad. at
I thought the
some
avalanche scene I kind of liked.
points. Okay, so they fire one rock. And then while they're reloading, she notices this, grabs a bunch of helmets, runs all the way around them, sets up the helmets, and shoots at them.
Listen, I'm not saying it
how
makes sense.
Okay, someone please look up how long does it take to reload a trebuchet? I'm sure that information exists.
Chat, can you help us out real quick?
How
Also,
long
can you look up
does
how
it
long
take
it
to
takes
reload a
reload
trebuchet?
a
Because
trebuchet?
what she did would have taken at least 5 minutes.
Spelled like trebuchet.
No, it's
No.
trebuchet.
There's an H instead of a
Yeah,
K.
it's TREBUCHET.
It kind of looks like
It's-
trebuchet.
It does.
If you
It
Google
does, but it's
trebuchet,
not
it
the
will say.
same.
If you Google trebuchet, it will say, "Did you mean trebuchet, dumbass?"
Yes.
It's because
Verbatim.
when I used to play Age of Empires, I
it'll
used to
say-
call them trebuchets.
It'll say, "Did
That's
you mean
fair.
trebuchet, Greg?"
They're close, but they're not the same spelling as you just
so
said.
while someone is looking up that information for me, so again.
Good luck
We
not
were
being
talking
girls.
about where this ranks, and while you might say like, okay, Dumbo is just like a worse shot movie,
Yeah.
Pinocchio is like a worse shot, like a worse made, a worse constructed movie. This one's like mediocre.
I don't know.
What makes this the worst of the worst for me is that, unlike any of the other remakes, now some of the remakes again change the story. Little Mermaid changed the ending pretty drastically,
Yeah.
but up until that point, it was mostly the same.
Yeah.
This one, right out of the gate, changes the fundamental principle of the main character you're supposed to be rooting for. It changes it from, here is this scrappy, clever underdog who's in a place she does not belong, who has to learn to overcome these challenges, who is not prepared for this, who has to fight and put forth
Adversity
all
and
her
hard
effort
work.
and come over this adversity through her courage and her bravery and her sheer goddamn stick-to-itiveness. To, this girl has superpowers. So she just has to use her superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
Maybe they're playing a prank on us.
But I don't know, like, who is this message for? Like, who is sitting there like, man, life would be so much easier if I would just use my super speed.
It's
But
a metaphor.
is it really the right thing to do?
Well, the problem-
life would just be so much easier if I just used my ability to create infinite money out of the ether. But should I really do that?
well, the problem is like it also ruins any kind of messaging that they attempt to have, where like they have this kind of a through line. It's mentioned 2 or 3 times where they're like, courage can't be there without fear, because it's kind of an encouragement to like, hey, it's okay to be nervous in a battle. My question is, how are you ever scared with superpowers? Doesn't that take away a lot of the
okay,
fear?
so her fear is her fear of them finding out. But it's like, okay, well, if they try to kill you, you have superpowers. The only way they kill
snap
you
your
is if you're like,
finger.
yeah, well, you found me, so I guess you get to kill me. Like, it's so asinine. And I don't understand. This has been in other films too, like Captain Marvel, where she just like decides to not be held back. And it's like,
yeah.
is the message supposed to be that, oh, society is just holding you back and you just have to not be held back by society? Is that the point of that movie? Because that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, you understand that people are like, oh, my rights are being oppressed. Like, okay, what are you not allowed to do? Tell me, what is the law that says you're not allowed to do that? You say, well, society looks down on this. Like, okay, I thought the whole point was you're supposed to not listen to society. So if society says you can't do X, but it's not illegal, then you can do X.
Sure. There's always going to
So
be
it's like,
there's always going to be
so what's the
people.
point?
There's always going to be people that think certain like you're going to get the older generation, let's just use this as an example. Like my dad would probably not understand as much as I would the draw in watching people play video games or playing video games myself as much as I do, or watching movies or talking about movies, frankly, like we're doing. He would be like, that's odd. Don't you guys want to go outside and do something active? Now, granted, I don't think my dad hates anybody for saying that. It's understandable that he thinks that way and that he says those things. And it might be understandable for another person just to say, don't you guys ever get tired of being competitive and everything is gambling on sports or everything is this? And another group of people say, what are you talking about? That's the funnest thing. The whole world's going to be made up of people going, wait, you're a girl. You shouldn't want to do this. You're a girl. You should want to do that. Or everybody's going to be saying stuff like this. But like, if you don't establish a world like the original Mulan did, where it was like, this is like the whole society, this is why there is adversity in place, you take those away, then it's just like, well, some of your friends are morons. There's not like, that's just life.
There's just nothing there. It's completely asinine. And I don't know what life lesson you're supposed to take away from it other than like, oh, the power's inside you all along. But the fact of the matter is, no, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
The effort can be there. The willpower could be there.
Yeah.
But, you know, like the actual like stuff is probably not there, whether it being like knowledge or strength. Like, no, you have to earn those. You have to work for those.
Right.
Like it doesn't just materialize out of the ether.
Right.
Yeah. So
How about the scene with the guys where they're talking about like the
Oh my
women
gosh.
and they're just
Yeah, okay,
objectifying,
so-
and then she mentions she
this
wants
is
a
the other thing.
courageous
This is-
woman, and they all laugh in her face.
this is the other thing that makes the movie just so just despicable.
Men bad.
Is they keep using like, so they took out Mushu, they took out all the songs. There's this weird phoenix that shows up every now and then, but then they will every now and then just throw in these musical cues to remind you of the original Mulan. And I'm literally just like Harry Potter, like, how dare you stand where he stood? Like, you take my Mulan's name out your freaking mouth.
You might as well be totally separate if you're going to be this bad.
Yeah.
They took out Cricket.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
He's a
It's
big
I
dude
know,
now.
it's
He's
a
a dude who's like,
human.
yeah, they call me Cricket because I'm lucky, and he does literally nothing.
And they're,
We
like,
got an answer. We got an answer from chat on the trebuchet.
Yeah.
The biggest trebuchets were lucky to get off one shot every half hour.
Okay, well then she could have gotten around.
well,
It was a pretty
different.
big.
It was a different time. Like the reference of time was different, so it was really half an hour.
So I guess she could rearrange before they took the second shot. All right, fair enough. I stand corrected.
The bigger problem with that scene, though, is it's like
Everything?
in the well, other than everything. The original one, she looks at the mountain. She looks at the one rocket they have left, and she takes a chance to shoot it there. This one, she's looking at them firing trebuchets, and she's like, "Hey, I'll go over here." Let's just assume that they miss really, really badly and they hit the mountain behind me that's like a mile behind me. And they do. They miss her completely and hit the mountain and kills themselves.
Also, the reveal of her being a girl is like her deciding to, I don't need to be a boy anymore. So she just rides into battle as a woman and just
gonna
whips
let my hair down.
And whoops everybody. Yeah, she whips her hair back and forth, whoops everyone's ass. And then they're like, okay. Exile her for about 5 seconds, and then she comes back, and they're like, "Yeah, we changed our mind."
Looks like some of the smaller ones are 15 to 20 minutes.
In the original, she gets found out because she gets injured,
Right.
right? And it's like a big shock for everyone.
Yeah.
It's like a big deal.
She also didn't cut her hair in this one.
Yeah.
So
That was
the
also
whole
a big
the whole
deal.
time she's just a girl.
Yeah.
She very
Like,
much
very obviously
she very
a
much
woman.
looks like a girl, and half the time isn't even doing her guy voice.
I know.
Which is
I
just
know.
a really bad
I
guy.
know.
She's like,
It's
I'm
one of the worst guy
I'm
voices.
I'm a soldier in the Imperial Army. I'm a soldier in the Imperial Army. And I'm like, what is?
There was times where she wasn't adjusting her voice at all. She was just
Yes, of
talking as a
course
woman, and it's just like this is just a woman. here,
Also,
I
she
guess.
meets the hot guy. It's
Good
not
luck
Shang
not
Tsung,
being girls.
but she meets hot guy, and he's like totally flirting with him.
Yeah, right. The guy's like, oh.
And he's like, "Why isn't it as easy to talk to girls as to you?" And she's like, "It kind of is." That was like the one funny moment in the whole movie was that little conversation they
Also,
had.
the dad is a dick.
Yeah, Dad's a dick. Emperor's
Dad's
a dick.
a dick.
Well,
Why
is he,
dad
is he dick?
Yes, he is absolutely.
What does he do?
Yeah. Well, no,
remind
so
me.
he
I watched it in
totally-
two
he's
parts.
just like
Because he's like,
spiteful
yeah.
and like
So like in the original,
there's no love.
he's clearly a loving dad who cares about his daughter, and then the one time he snaps at her and says, "I know my place. You should know yours."
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
yeah.
That's the one arguably thing where you're like, okay, maybe he shouldn't have said that, but you understand why he said that. In the remake, he's like, yeah, it's great you have chi, but you can't use it. You're a girl. You have
like
to be
you're
a girl.
screw up.
Yeah,
you're
he's like
dishonorable.
Yeah, he's like, why can't you be like your sister who doesn't have superpowers and acts like a girl?
Yeah.
A girly girl. And then at the end, he's like, I'm sorry, I should have accepted you for who you are.
He's a misogynist pig.
There was no
Yeah.
point in the original where they didn't accept Mulan for who she was.
Right.
She's like, I don't understand, like, who is this girl I see staring straight back at me? She's never like, if only my parents understood that I'm actually a man, right? She never says anything like that, right? Because her parents clearly love her. She's struggling to find her place in society where she's failing at all the things that she's expected to do. And she knows that her parents love her, but she wants to bring honor to the family. And so she's like, I don't know how I can do that since I don't fit in this mold.
And they were still worried about her in the original. They were worried she's a little wild, a little rambunctious.
Yeah, they're worried sick.
In the new one, like they were worried, and they also like just didn't like her.
And the emperor is like the original
didn't like
emperor
her. They liked
is
the sister.
awesome. He's like serene and wise and a badass.
Yeah.
And in the new one, he's like, I killed his dad. I'm going to kill him too. He's just like a macho bro dude. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Was there a single likable character in this movie?
Nope.
Genuinely.
What I was
the love interest guy, he was all right.
Okay, he's fine. He's pretty milquetoast.
Yeah.
but
But it wasn't offensively bad.
What I was gonna
That's
say
the
though
bar. That's
is
the bar.
also, did you guys notice the wide range of accents? No, they would have some people like Mulan that would be like, "Hi, I am Mulan. Like I try super hard."
I was hoping that you were going to try to impersonate it. Go ahead, let's do a couple other ones.
Then they clearly had random dudes.
Jakob, how is this okay?
I'm
calling HR.
What do the other guys sound like?
Suck.
You had random guys that were just like, "Hey, how's it going? We need to lead to the Hun army now." And I'm like, "Wait, who's Jeff over here?"
Them damn Huns be coming over that wall
Exactly.
there.
There
We're
was
gonna get
100
my Hemi. We're gonna drive down.
At least it wasn't Eddie Murphy.
Right at that rate,
SMH.
though, they didn't take out anything. Like all of the characters were like a lot of those were just clearly American dudes, like being like, they're like, "Hey, look, can you play Sean Yu?" And it's like, I can't do an Asian accent. Like, it's all right, you look the part. Like, just go out there and do
we
it.
definitely don't want you to try on an Asian accent.
So on accents. So apparently, Terminator, right? Was it Terminator? One of Arnie's first movies. I think it's Terminator. When they dubbed it for German, he didn't do his own voice, even though he speaks fluent German, because apparently he has a hick accent.
Like a German?
Like a German, rural German accent.
Really?
So like
wild.
he didn't dub his own voice because he sounds like a hick.
That's hilarious.
That's hilarious.
That is very
Just
funny.
imagine like, come with me if you want to live. Get to the chopper. But in German.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
So also in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which this movie was a blatant ripoff of, that movie is everyone's speaking in Chinese the whole time. And like to us, it just sounds like, it's a bunch of people speaking Chinese. But apparently in China, they were like, man, these accents are all over the place. Because everyone just spoke in their own regional accent. And so it's like just a complete mishmash of accents. To me, it's just like the funniest thing ever.
For real this time, you guys suck.
Yeah.
For real this
But
time.
I there's not much more to say about the live action. It's an atrocity of a movie. To me, it is by far the biggest gap between live action and original.
Yeah.
Because the original is
Probably.
a masterpiece. It's funny, after watching it, I'm like, should I put that in my top 5 and bump Zootopia down one notch?
Ever?
It's hard.
Top five
my
movies
top
ever.
5 movies ever. Wow. And bump Zootopia down one notch. I'm torn on that. It's really good. It's definitely in my top 10.
It's top 6,
It's
maybe.
so good. It's yes.
Wow.
But
It's definitely an incredible movie, and I think it, for sure, at least for me, as of now, takes the cake with the biggest gap. I think that's pretty much a
no
given.
question. No question
I think
it's the biggest gap.
the bigger question is, do they actually represent the best and the worst? Because that might be a conversation. I
think,
don't
again,
know.
it's
It's
hard.
not the worst for me.
Again, so if you're talking about just the movie by itself, I don't think it's the worst movie. I think again it'd have to be either Dumbo or Pinocchio for that. But when I think
Peter
about
Pan,
when
I
I think
would
about the
pick Peter Pan.
movie, Peter Pan was pretty damn
Pan
bad.
was
But when I
bad.
think about the movie that just fills me with bile. It just makes me sick to my stomach that people could think that this was okay to make. That makes me wish that everyone who was involved with any of it was just fired, not fired from their jobs, but fired into the sun.
Mert killed.
That is the worst one. This one just stirs up, because I'm Dumbo. I got angry about Dumbo and Peter Pan, but it's more just like an annoyed, like,
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm still watching this.
BS.
Yeah.
This one makes me sad that the movie exists.
Sure.
It's just sad because you had such a layup of a movie.
Yeah,
you had a
would
layup
never
of a movie to make that featured an extremely strong female lead. It featured everything you'd want to feature in a modern movie, and they butchered this thing.
So my little sister keeps asking me, because she knows I do the podcast, she's like, why do you keep watching movies that you know you're not going to like? And I'm like, well, first of all,
Beats me.
I never go into a movie knowing I'm not going to like it. Some of them I have. Pattern recognition is a thing, right? We look at the Disney remakes and see that they follow a similar pattern of making tweaks that are almost always bad, and the CGI is bad, and the voice acting is bad, and like everything's bad. So you can assume that they're probably not going to be good movies, but you can be pleasantly surprised. We really loved live action Cinderella.
Yeah.
Jungle Book was not bad. Live action Aladdin was surprisingly decent after you get past the Street Rat song.
We go in with an open mind,
right? You go in with an open
least.
mind and understand that sometimes you'll be surprised. You got to be open to movies surprising you.
Yeah.
Right? Some of the movies that I've had the most fun with are the ones where I went in going, I don't want to watch this movie right now, but I'll just sit down and watch it. And like Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, did not want to watch that movie. Brilliant movie. Absolutely worth watching.
Well, me and you have had
yeah.
specific experiences of this.
Yeah.
I mean, we went into watching Predator 2 expecting this movie to be
Because it's got like a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Just
and it's
horrible.
Like,
and
reviews horribly. And we were watching like, this is an amazing movie.
It was a great movie.
Con Air.
Planet of the Apes. Dude, I'm so glad you mentioned that. You know what day is coming up?
Is Con Air Day coming up?
Con Air Day is coming up.
Has it been that
Dude,
long?
it's coming up, man.
What
It's
is it?
in February.
How'd you remember?
I
How do you
have it
know
on my calendar. It's on my phone. That's how amazing. So, like, just to bring the audience up to speed, really briefly, we were all supposed to watch Con Air. Like, Nathanael had something last minute that came up.
Yeah.
So it ended up
I've already seen the movie, so.
Yes, Nathanael knows it's good. But me, Liam, and I believe, was it John Boney?
John Boney, yeah.
and DQ. I think DQ might have been there, too.
Yes. Yeah.
We watched this movie Con Air, which is like, we're expecting just kind of a comedy show. It's old
It's
Nick
a wild
Cage.
movie.
Cage.
It's Nick Cage doing the most heinous accents.
Long hair, Nick Cage.
Long hair, jacked, like wife beater, the whole movie, Nick Cage. And the movie is
wild.
phenomenal. Like we get done,
wild
and me
movie.
and Liam can't stop talking about how we were like, why was that so good? I had to call Nathanael. I called him out of whatever he was doing. I'm like, dude, it's amazing. This is Greg. This is Liam. We just want to. Oh my gosh! Like,
I was
we
like,
were
yeah,
losing
I
our
know.
minds.
Okay.
Con Air's a great movie. It's the movie that you're like, on paper, you're like, there's no way this is a good movie,
Right.
and it's somehow the pieces just all click
It's
to
so
make
much
this just
fun.
wonderful experience.
The bad guy sitting there in a vat of gasoline talking to the other bad guy. The bad guy's name is Sai. And he goes, please, Sai. And then he just goes, Anara. And then throws a match into the gasoline, blows him up.
John Malkovich.
It's John Malkovich. I mean, we immediately had to write down in our calendars that day and be like, this is Con Air Day. We have to watch Con Air. Every year on this day.
It was maybe the most fun movie watching experience of my life.
Yeah, it was up there.
I had to tell all my
It's
friends.
a ridiculous
and
movie.
family.
It's definitely worth watching. It's a movie that will 100% take you by surprise. It's a wild movie.
Reco for
Wild.
the week is Con Air. Anyways, sorry, I interrupted
Original Mulan.
Nathaniel. That was the point in saying that we don't go into these movies like
And
wanting them to be bad. Although
Now,
we might
I had
expect them
already
to be
seen.
bad, we don't want them
so
to
in this
be.
case, I had already seen the original Mulan, so I knew I despised it. But there is merit in looking at things you don't like and trying to dissect what is it that rubs me the wrong way. Like, why do I not like this movie? So if you can answer that question, that helps you figure out A, what your tastes are, but B, it also helps you, describe, what is a good movie versus a bad movie? What makes a movie good? What makes a movie bad? What is good character writing versus bad character writing? Good world building, bad world building. Like, what do you look for? Like, if you're interested at all in writing your own stories, you need to, or doing anything creative, you need to experience both the best and the worst to understand, here's what works, here's what doesn't. And so, we don't, while obviously we do go on rants, right? We're not just like, okay, so I think she asked me this because, people are like, oh, just let people enjoy things. Look, if you enjoy the live action Mulan, you're more than welcome to watch it.
Of course.
Right?
You're wrong.
You're wrong. Like, so I would ask you, like, what do you enjoy about it? And if you say, well, the way it makes me feel, I'm like,
You
okay, but
guys
there are other
suck.
movies that can make you feel that way that are good movies.
And then,
So-
if you say it's good, then we'll debate you to death.
Yeah, but I don't like. I'm not just getting angry for the sake of being angry, right? I don't think that's what we're trying to do here, right? It's really easy to shift into super negative mode. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do the juxtaposition, so that way we had something good to talk about too.
Yeah.
So we could talk about here's what's really good and compare it to here's what's really bad. Because we could just watch the live actions, then it would just be pure negativity of just spewing bile the entire time.
Well,
that's one of the reasons I wanted us
There'd
to
be no
compare them.
laughing or smiling.
Yeah, it would be
at
pure
all.
misery.
And
So as painful as all those movies were, I'm glad I watched them. I will never watch most of them again, but I'm glad I watched them because now I can say, A, it's not fair to critique something you haven't actually watched.
Yes, that's the main point.
And
Like
B,
Ghostbusters.
and B,
Yes.
by looking at it, it is an insight into how Hollywood's priorities have shifted. So I'll say very broad statements like Hollywood just doesn't know how to write characters anymore.
Sure.
And my brother will say you're being hyperbolic, right? There's good stuff in there. You don't watch that much stuff. I'm like, okay, but generally speaking, if you look at the movies from the last 10 years and compare it to the 10 years before that and the 10 years before that,
Yeah, it gets worse.
it gets way worse.
Especially like
Because
the
people don't
blockbusters or like the
understand
mainstream
what
ones.
again we've talked about this a lot about the things that resonate with audiences because as Gerald Tolkien would say, it's because they resonate with like the true story, right? What we know the true story is the eucatastrophe, like the coalescence of fiction and reality,
Right.
the things that resonate with everyone because people all experience. Everyone has unique life experiences, but everyone experiences life, which is difficulty, sorrow, and joy, and happiness, right? All these different things mixed together, and everyone has difficulties they have to overcome. So seeing a character overcome difficulties resonates with everyone. Everyone wants to be better. Everyone wants to improve. Everyone wants to find that courage and that bravery and overcome their obstacles. And so to see characters do that on screen gives us hope that we can do it ourselves. That's one of the big things that makes a good character is something, again, people talk about representation, but more than just something superficial,
Yeah.
which would be your skin color, your background, things like that. Those are superficial things, right? What's really important is, hey, this person, How to Train Your Dragon. Brilliant.
That's what's really important.
Brilliant
about
movie,
Train Your Dragon.
right? How to Train Your Dragon. You have what's the main character's? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the main character's name. The kid.
Littlefoot.
Belch?
Steve-O.
No. Frick, the kid's name.
Finn.
Squirt or
Finn.
Debo.
Finn? No, they call him.
Might be.
Dumbo.
It's like Squirt
Could
or
be.
something like that because he's a scrawny boy, right? Well, at the end, so he befriends this dragon who's lost a tail, right, and helps him.
Hiccup.
Thank you. He comes
That's the
to
name of the kid?
yeah. He comes
It's a
to
dumb
terms. He
name.
comes to
Stupid
terms with the
name.
name.
Stupid.
It's
I'm
brilliant.
not gonna watch that
Great
movie now.
No, it's a great movie.
Stupid name.
But he ends up with like the same disability that his dragon does, and so okay, how do you overcome like a physical disadvantage, but then also how do you overcome like an emotional disadvantage or things like that? It's like again broad overarching things like being the underdog, riff-raff, street rat, idle bad, like people not seeing beyond your exterior. The whole who is this girl I see staring straight back at me, right? This idea of not fitting in and not being able to find your place, not knowing what you're supposed to do with your life, things like that resonate with everyone because at some point everyone experiences those things.
That's a beautiful point because like I feel like you always hear like you want to relate. Well, obviously, you want to relate to the character. It doesn't necessarily mean skin color. Doesn't necessarily mean it really shouldn't mean. It should mean like their heart, what they're going through, trials, tribulations, growth.
Right. Again, to go back to Mulan, I am not what would this be like 10th century Chinese peasant girl.
Yeah. But you can relate
like,
to the trials.
But I can relate to
and-
everything she goes
the
through.
adversity. Yeah.
Right.
That's a great point. No, it's
So
well said.
it's
And to circle back to like the main point you were making as far as why do we watch movies that we don't like? The real answer is that we don't know we don't like them yet.
Yeah,
like we hear
for the most
things.
part.
We hear things. We expect things to be bad. But we go into it and watch it because as our good friend Jakob would say, like you can't critique something before you watch it. So
Yep.
we watch it.
well, he would say, "Have you seen it?"
You watch
have you
it.
seen
He would just say,
Suck.
He would just say, "Suck, big saucy suck." No,
Does that sound by just suck?
it's me if like sliding around on the whole
I know
voice message.
who does the animated Mulan think here. If I have to hear Nathanael say, "Oh, that movie was a 10 out of 10
Okay.
one more time,"
I won't say
think
it.
I might
It
just
was
have
an
to pull a
11 out
Mulan
of 10.
myself and dress like a man just to make it onto your show so I can smack him. Oh, okay, bye. For real this time. You guys suck.
Definitely AI.
But anyways, we go and we watch these movies because for that exact point, we don't know if we don't like them, but if we don't like them, We want to bring you reasons why we think that they didn't do a good job. Now, there are times, and this is true for all of us, there are times, just because I know movies that you guys like and dislike, that we, at least for me personally, there are movies that I think that are good that I don't personally like.
Yeah.
Like that I can say, that was a really, really well done movie.
What was the one we watched?
It's really tough to watch. Logan is one of those for me, where I'm like, I don't particularly love rewatching Logan.
Yeah,
it's
good movie.
It's kind of long and painful.
Yeah.
I think it's incredibly done. I think it's a really, really well made movie. Out of all the Marvel movies and the other ones, it's not one that I would reach for and want to watch. It's just not my type of movie, although I think it's really well done.
Disagree.
And this is my whole point. There are also movies that are really bad that we might enjoy, that are classics to us. And we
Some motherfuckers always trying to skate up here.
Dumb and Dumber.
And the purpose.
No, terrible movie. That's a trash movie, and you're garbage for thinking it's
and
funny.
the purpose of doing what we're doing now is that we're trying to find the finer points, the objective parts of filmmaking. We obviously understand that every art form has a larger portion of it that is subjectivity. But we want to talk about if a movie that we really, really didn't like was poorly done, we want to talk about those reasons, and we want to do our best to talk about the reasons that a movie was done really, really well, despite whether we liked it or not.
So a lot of times, people are like, oh, you just don't like, whatever the politics or the themes or whatever. It's like, no, there are movies that I think are really good that I think have absolutely despicable messages or politics.
Sure.
So it's not that. Like, people say, oh, art is subjective. There is subjectivity, absolutely. And your personal enjoyment of something is always going to have subjective elements to it. Yeah. But there is also an objectiveness to, A, the craft of filmmaking, and B, beauty. There is objective beauty.
Yeah.
Now, some people might be so perverse that they're blind to certain elements of objective beauty. I think our culture is moving in that direction a lot. And with some of the things that we're celebrating that are just completely objectionable in terms of what beauty is. But, there's an objective element to beauty. Like, beauty does exist. It's not just in the mind. It's not just in the eye of the beholder. Like, yes, there is an aspect of that where people have preferences for things they like, but there is also an objective sense in, like, if you see a sunset and you don't think it's beautiful, there's something wrong with you, not with the sunset.
Right. And I think that, again, this is why we do what we do, is because for all those people out there that do say, "Oh, you don't like this movie? It's because of X. It's because of Y. It's because
we're sexist, misogynist, pigs who hate women and people of color.
You're racist or whatever the case.
Whatever people with disabilities, and we hate queer trans women of color.
The reason we watch these movies is because we want to show you that those aren't the reasons. If you dislike these movies, you're okay. It doesn't mean you're those things. You can actually look at a strong female character written in the new version of Mulan and go, "Hey, that's a terribly written character, and this is a really bad movie."
If that
you don't have to feel.
Okay, so here's the thing:
you don't have to feel.
Here's
like
how you can tell it's not a sexist complaint. If you gender swap that, and it's a man who's like, "Paul, men can't use chi, or there'll be witches." Like, it's
we would
just
have the
as
same
poorly
questions.
written.
We would have the same questions.
It's just as
why would they
bad.
care if the guy uses chi? Yes, which is why we do. Okay, so last thoughts on both movies. Liam, like, hit us with it.
Ooh, well, I was thinking about it in terms of the rankings. Lion King is going to be my number one. Spoiler alert. But Mulan is up there, and the live action is down there.
Yeah,
not going to be my least favorite. But
I think the biggest gap between.
I think that's fair to say. I was trying to think about it, and I think that's accurate.
I think that and Lion King are close.
But Mulan, man, Mulan's awesome. The original, I was just so blown away by the score of it.
Yeah,
to be honest, that
so good.
Music really hits me emotionally, and that was hitting me.
Yeah, every song in that, especially the Reflection song.
Oh,
is,
so good.
Yeah,
I mean, that thing just with the build up to, like, and this is what the more, I want to say more modern ones, but out of the ones we've watched, not the original ones that were less heavy on the music, the more modern ones where the music is directly affecting whatever the storyline is, and directly is related to what's going on in the movie.
Right.
That when she sings that song, it means more than if it was sang in a vacuum.
Like in someone's head, for instance.
Yes. So when she sings it, you know what she's feeling.
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, there were several moments that this movie captured me with stuff like that. It had the uplifting, inspirational ones. Like I'll Make a Man of You is... That makes me just want to get good. Like, it's so good. There are the points where all the background like sounds go away and it's just vocals and they're all singing together. They're echoing each other and it's It's just phenomenal. Like
I'm
that,
gonna listen to that
song,
before volleyball tournaments.
Yeah, it's an amazing song,
Hype me
and
up.
the humor was there. The humor was hilarious. The story itself amazing. The live action, I regret to say there is nothing I liked from the live action.
Nope. No characters.
It was bad from the first point of the movie to the last. Cookie cutter, got it out of a cereal box character actor, if you want to call them that. People out of a movie. It did have what's his name, like whatever the main general is what's his name that played the Ip Man.
Is that's who that is?
Yes.
And he was in John Wick too?
Yeah.
Bruce Lee? No.
No. John. He was in the last John Wick as the blind
Chow Yun
guy.
Fat?
No, like he.
Oh,
Not a
Stick.
real
The guy who
person.
plays Stick in the.
Yes.
Chow Yun Fat is a real person.
Yes.
Donnie Yen.
Donnie Yen.
Johnny Yen. So Donnie Yen.
Michelle
is,
Yeoh's in it, I think, as well. Or was Michelle Yeoh in the original? I don't remember.
No, Michelle Yeoh's not in the live action.
I think she's in the original.
Either way, though,
Is she?
I
they
think so.
weren't
She's a
given
voice actor?
anything
Yeah,
to work with. It was just terrible. So
Yep,
those
terrible,
are my last
bad,
thoughts.
poopy.
They took out all the music. They took out all the humor. Big old.
And
thumbs
Mushu.
down.
All right, so
So
let's wrap this. bad
Okay,
boy
so
up.
so what are we doing next week, Nathaniel? Tell the people.
Next week we are
Big week for us.
big week. We are doing some rankings. Yes, and we're gonna make Liam produce this one, so we keep him as far away from the ranking board as we
Oh my
can.
gosh, can you imagine me producing it?
Yes,
Okay.
next week.
You actually are.
You are.
Good. Am I?
Yeah.
This
Because
is not a
again,
joke.
we gotta
Oh,
keep
it's
you as
gonna be a
far away from. You're not
disaster,
allowed to
bro.
touch the rankings. It's okay. You just need the wide ones so you can see the rankings. You don't need to touch anything. You just need to
I
be far away.
can't
You need to be
wait.
over there. And we're putting you in the corner.
You know how many times
can't
we're
be
going to hear.
It's gonna be spammed. It's gonna be spammed.
I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, we're gonna rank all the Disney movies that we watched. So I think 20 movies total.
Yes, so I'm going to come up with
Greg's gonna come up with some
several
categories.
different ranking categories, ranging from like which ones had best music, like a top 3 for music, a top 3 anime, top 3 live action, top and bottom, a full rankings, maybe a best dads list. We're gonna get a lot of fun
Yeah, best
rankings,
dads list.
and we're gonna spend the whole
Biggest gap
episode
between live action and
music.
rankings. And I'll encourage chat if you guys are listening, if you guys are watching this on a pre-recorded, not live. Join in for this episode. It's going to be a
That's
lot of
gonna be
fun
fun.
because you don't have to watch anything specific. We're going to be going over all 20 of these. So if you liked a
gonna be a
specific
long
one
night.
or not other ones, join in. We would love to hear your opinions on where they should be ranked.
Yeah.
So we can kind of like have a chat ranking system too.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
We could do
Really
we could do a
looking forward to
poll.
that.
We could set up a poll like to vote.
Yeah.
We can figure that out.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
could.
that'd be great.
Fun.
All right.
So that will be next week. In the meantime, Nathaniel, where can the people find us?
Well, you can find us on YouTube, which you're on right now if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this recorded, we're on YouTube. Congratulations, you found us. You did it. Hit that subscribe button, like, leave a comment, whatever. I don't know. Algorithms.
That's right.
Our podcast is on our dearly debated audio podcast is on every so it's on Spotify, but it's also anywhere you get your podcasts. I use Podcast Addict app on my phone, and it's on there. We also, Greg and I do Kitchen Chemist, which is in season 2, full swing, baby. Didn't put out a video last week because I was super busy, and then I was out of town. But there will be a video tomorrow. Might be out a little bit late, but Juice and Berries.
Ooh.
You guys suck.
Greg's faces in this one are pretty good. You're gonna see a lot of zoom-ins on Greg going. It's pretty, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty funny.
They still can't see you. It's still this. You got to get through this part.
I just did.
Okay.
That was the last one.
All right, hold on.
So let me do the Greg face again. Greg, yeah, nope, yeah. So a lot of faces are going.
Can't wait to see that.
It's great, man. I still going to be a lot of zoom-ins.
Good luck not being girls.
Thank you.
Again, I'm very
Yaka.
good at that. I have
Thanks
like
for
a
your input.
99% success rate at not being a girl.
Maybe
Hey,
we
but
will. Maybe we'll hear from Jakob next week, and we'll get his rankings.
Yeah,
Possibly.
maybe.
We'll
Sure
see
hope
if he
not.
leaves me another voice message. I certainly hope I never hear from him again.
Yeah, sure hope not.
But sadly,
I
we
feel like
probably
we
will.
will. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
We will be here in 2 weeks with our rankings. Liam will watch 4 movies between now and then. He will watch all 4.
Imagine.
He will not skip out.
He's gonna watch all 4. No, he's gonna watch 5 movies. He's gonna watch the whole Twilight
Imagine.
series.
He's imagine if
Team
Liam
Jacob. No.
Imagine
Team
if Liam
Edward.
actually cared about things.
Couldn't.
I can't.
Couldn't.
All right, everybody.
All right.
Take care.